Reveille.
Look at us now, tip to tip.
Jesus.
Shout out to Morning Kombat.
Do you want a margarita? Yes! My God!
To us, doing what we love. It's time to bang. Oh, yeah, it's Monday morning, fired up about combat sports, ready to invade your face hole. It's Morning Kombat, Monday, March 24th, 2025. UFC London is behind us. Let's get fired up. Brian Campbell, that BBC, with that BDE, back from Las Vegas, back here in the NYC. That's Luke Thomas. We are in the Meadowlark Studios in Manhattan. Luke, we started a couple minutes late because the subway system did you wrong.
Well, Jesus. It just doesn't stop where it's supposed to stop.
Yes.
Or the next stop.
Now,
or the next stop after that.
What would 2019 Luke say about BC if that happened?
You mean if you had a legitimate reason for public?
Yeah,
for being
like
late
on the way to
because-
that drinking show when you gave me hell.
Didn't you drive there?
I drove to the train station and then the Metro North, put me on many delays.
I wouldn't forgive you because I'm coming from much further away.
Okay,
How about
there we
that?
go. We've settled that.
Eat
Hey,
shit.
welcome into a fantastic show. When you got BCLT and a fresh weekend
You got
of
AIDS.
big-time fights to break down, you might have that AIDS. No, 172 was big. How about Rodtang over the weekend? Luke's drinking some...
I mean, they're literally calling it cola. Hold on. That's the name. And it tastes
like cola.
it tastes like butt. Like someone
All
just
right,
dipped their ass in
There
it.
we go. Fun weekend, by the way. We'll be hitting a lot of that stuff. And okay, here we are. We're here. This is
I woke
great.
up at 3:45 this morning.
Why
I'm
don't we show
a
you
little
our
tired.
social handles and remind you that we would like, if you could like the show on YouTube, subscribe to what we've got going on. If you listen audio only while you run your errands, please tell a friend. Let's let this show spread like butt cheek wildfire, right?
What's the grossest soda?
Birch beer.
No.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
I feel like Dr. Perky is. You know that nubber Dr. Pepper?
I'm fine with the nub brands. Like Mountain Thunder. My family used to get down with Mountain Thunder, all right?
Favorite had the Faygo, the Insane Clown Posse.
I don't drink it, but Rafe Bartholomew in Greater Detroit drinks that on the regular.
Well, he's white trash. I mean, we love
well,
Rafe,
there-
but that is disreputable.
By the way, Rafe grew up a block from the studio.
Really?
Yes, a block.
This is a nice area.
We've got a third member of our broadcast. You may have seen him over the weekend getting high on the Main Card Minute podcast. He's the son of an Australian ball bag. It's Luke Nocita. Yes.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
Did you eat shit on your bets?
No, Kevin Holland cash, Marcin Tybura cash, Nathaniel Wood cash, Jan Blachowicz. I mean, personally, I do think Oldberg won that fight, but that was a close fight.
It was close.
Hey,
Solid bet.
Terrell Gaucher should have cashed. What the hell's
Terrell
going on
Gaucher,
there?
man, plus 450. Definitely should have won that
Damn,
fight. That
they
was a
robbed him.
robbery.
Wow. All right. So there's Long Island Luke. Thank you for playing. Luke, do you have any message for the people? Recent medical diagnoses?
No.
Update on your future at all? Oh, this weekend. Can we talk about that?
Not yet. Not yet.
All right. Well, you're gonna have to wait and see what's going on here in the life
Yeah.
of Luke Thomas.
Yeah,
There we go.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. We'll be on that. We will be hitting you with DMs from donks and have you seen this ish to close today's broadcast.
Oh, I have a funny story. So I took Tukey bike riding through the neighborhood the other
Yes.
day, or yesterday, as a matter of fact. And
You walking while she's riding with training wheels.
I'm riding in the street. She's riding on the sidewalk
With training wheels.
with training wheels. And then we get on the bike path, and then we're pretty much fine thereafter. And we stopped along the way to get a smoothie.
Yes.
Okay, she
Great,
got us.
great dad moment
All
right
right,
here.
it was amazing.
This is like my dad bringing me to 7-Eleven on the motorcycle and we get hot dogs and Slurpees.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
This is big.
So she loves this smoothie place. So we stop, and she gets a smoothie, and I get a smoothie, and they're about this tall. It's thin at the bottom, but they're about this tall. And I sit them down. I go, "This is the one you ordered. This one is mine." She goes to grab the one that she orders and spills it, and it spills all of the smoothie immediately all over the table and
So
floor.
your challenge, do I flip out like I want to?
I didn't flip out, but I was like, "Baby girl, we got to be careful, okay?"
Yes.
And then when I sat down, she goes, "Can I have a taste of yours?" I said, "Yeah, sure."
Please tell me she spilled it.
She spilled it all over the fucking table, and there's people being like looking around, like trying to get. Dude, when I say it spilled, I mean it was like a tidal wave of just fucking smoothie everywhere.
Great
so
moment there.
I had to go buy 2 smoothies, and I drank neither of them.
There it is. That's parenting. That's parenting 101.
We had a good time on the bikes, though. Shouts to Tukey, I love you.
That's what Sean Kemp and Antonio Cromartie go through with their 14 kids. You know what I mean? That's what it is.
A lot of smoothies just getting dumped on the ground.
Smoothies going on right there. By the way, since I was traveling this weekend, and we'll get into the London bullshit. I watched that Kings of Tupelo documentary on Netflix.
I've not seen this.
My God, I was told it makes Tiger King look normal. They were right.
Central premise is
the backwards Tupelo local government, a plot to send essentially anthrax to Obama, and it all being blamed on an Elvis impersonator. This you just got to watch it. All right.
America's a weird place. This is a weird place.
So is the American South. By the way.
It's a bunch of weird places.
Hey, enough of that. Behind us, I wanted to remind you that this episode of Morning Combat is brought to you by DraftKings, and as always, DraftKings, right? The crown is yours. Shout out to everybody watching on the DraftKings network. And now we will begin.
Let me do one thing. We'll use this to steer us in. Long Island Luke, did you hate UFC London? Because I want to raise my hand here and say I didn't hate it. And in fact, I don't quite necessarily get the pushback that the event got. I mean, I get some of it.
Well, I think it's related to overpriced tickets and not putting your best British stars out there.
Fine, no problem. But in general, as an event to watch, I found myself not necessarily in tune with some of the criticism. What did you make of it?
I agree. People were saying that during my watch along. They were like, this card sucks. And I was like, maybe it's just because I'm live right now enjoying watching the fight. I thought it was a great card. Not great, maybe, but I
THC pairs well with bad MMA.
I was sober, so but I didn't hate it. I really didn't.
I rewatched most of it. I did not hate it, but I do understand the direction that the sport, the quality level's going, the ticket, all that matters.
The ticket prices were insane, and all the British, well, not all, but most of the British donks got worked.
There were a lot of empty seats. There were people leaving early. It was kind of weird. You don't see that normally.
Well, blame Leon Edwards for that, buddy.
Well, we're about to do that.
All
Hey,
right.
Let's get into topic number 1 from the weekend. That was UFC London was a loaded, on paper, a plus fight night card, if you will. And it was really built upon the shoulders of that beautiful welterweight main event for title positioning as former champion Leon Edwards in his first bout since dropping the belt to Bilal Muhammad last year welcomed a rebirthed, aggressive, tattooed, and absolutely jacked up and hungry Philadelphia's own Sean Brady. And what we saw at the end was domination as the former champ Edwards tapped out via 4th round submission. So, Luke, not only did Brady win the first 3 rounds on all 3 scorecards, not only did he stuff that desperation takedown attempt from Leon in round 3 that I'm sure we'll talk about, he goes on to a dominant one-sided victory. But we got to ask this question here. What percentage of this was due to Brady evolving into an elite, legitimate title contender, and how much of this result was Edwards' self-imposed continued free fall in the minds of most MMA fans, where everyone's talking more about, it seems, what Edwards didn't do and than maybe what Brady did? How do you juggle that comparison and the percentages there?
If we assume that the 2 main contributors to the result are just that, some degree of Brady really crystallizing his game and some degree of Edwards simply not doing that, we have to assign like a pie chart proportion.
Sure.
I'm going to say it's around 70-30 in favor of Brady. That's what I'm going to say.
I like pie charts, by the way. Hair pie?
Hair pie.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to give about 70%. That's debatable. That's just an estimate, but I think that understand something. I went back and I watched this fight like I'm sure many people did, or at least have some impressions about it. And I went back and I'll have a breakdown later on my Substack. But, dude, Sean Brady is, can we just say this? Sean Brady had a unequivocal breakout performance.
A home run.
On Sat. Home run. Maybe not a grand slam, but a clear home run. He has gotten so much better, where I give credit to Leon. Some of the best things that he did, really the only good thing that he did, I thought, was counter-striking
in round 1, yes, countering.
As the blitzing was happening from Sean Brady. But short of that, he didn't really do anything. However, what I would say is on the ground, obviously we already know what the story is. On the feet, Sean Brady looked pretty good there too, landing good crosses and swivel jabs through combination. But if we're, again, assigning proportion of like what explains the result, there is simply no denying Sean Brady's ground game. And I'm going to say this, his top half game, it's either the best in MMA or certainly at a bare minimum on the short list for some of the best in MMA. You could put Islam Makhachev potentially number 1 in that role, because certainly he's doing unbelievable stuff. But this fight to me was such a clear demonstration, BC, of how thorough and complete not just his grappling game is, but the center of it, the nucleus,
Yes.
that top half. And he could play top half, top reverse half. You can call it reverse Kesikatami. There's a bunch of different names or similar set of positions. He is absolutely dominant. And once he begins to pull you into that rinse cycle, buddy, you're getting rinsed. Make no mistake about it. It's one of the, I honestly think it's, if not the best top half game in MMA, it is certainly on the short list. And BC, you saw that come to life. Dude, and I want to say this. Everyone's like, oh, he's big and he's strong. Yes, he is. And for Leon, we'll talk about Leon in a second, BC.
Yeah.
For Leon to say he was going to have a strength advantage now just looks so fucking comically out of touch. You barely even know what to say about it. But the reality to me, beyond Leon overestimating himself, is that people are wrong when they say Sean Brady is, well, he's this big gorilla. Yeah, he is. He is highly technical. Highly technical. When you watch these sequences, BC, where underneath Leon's going for half guard and he's trying to avoid mount and then he's trying to scramble and Sean is there every step of the way either to ride it or to stop it. Total mastery, doesn't make any positional mistakes. Not one positional mistake through 4 or 3+ rounds of the whole thing. Yeah. Did Leon Edwards fuck up real badly in this fight? And potentially, I think this stage of his career? Yeah, I think he did, and we'll talk about it. But that was an unenviable task to go up against this version of Sean Brady, a gorilla with high grappling IQ. That's a tough bastard to beat.
Look, this was a full-bloom moment because what did I say coming in where I was leaning Leon? I said, if this becomes a fight with striking on the feet, I'm going to have to see a growth from Sean. That first round was close, but I scored it for Sean, not just because of that trip takedown at the end, but I think he did level up his striking. I loved how tight his combinations were. He came off the opening bell throwing overhand rights, and there was poise. There was movement to him. It wasn't the same guy, obviously, that got picked apart strike after strike by Bilal, leading to the stoppage loss. And who has he been since then? Determined, motivated, explosive, so many adjectives. But the motivation part matters too. Did you see him after the win going right up to the cage, thanking Dana and Hunter for giving him this opportunity? He left his newborn daughter behind, flew out on short notice, and look at the condition he came in. Look at the dominance. This fight changed in round 2 when 3 seconds in, he took Edwards down and never let him back up. The body language on Leon Edwards walking back to the corner after round 2 said it all. That was the beginning of the end for him. So I know that we're going to kind of dunk on Leon, and boy, is MMA Twitter dunking on Leon. Oh my God. And you can argue if it's rightfully so. We're going to do all that. But dude, Sean Brady put him in that spot in round 2 and seemed to just pull out of him the will, the stamina, the everything. Leon was a completely different fighter after that. If you're on your back for 4 minutes and 57 seconds, that can certainly change a fight. To your point about top position, Sean Brady was dominant. He looked like a title contender on this afternoon.
Dude, he washed the former champion.
Yeah.
Washed him. I mean, that fight was close in the first round. Fine. It was close. I mean, you could score it whatever way you want. It was close. And then not at all for any point thereafter. From thereafter, it was one-way traffic. It was a steamrolling. I just feel like, you know, Sean Brady got he got a lot criticized after the loss to Bilal Muhammad, in part because what we now realize, people were sleeping on Bilal Muhammad.
Right.
We didn't realize how good his hands had gotten. I'm not comparing him to Canelo, but I'm saying certainly massively improved.
Yes.
And obviously what we saw in the grappling and the wrestling department, he was shutting down Sean Brady thereafter. We were like, oh, well, Sean Brady kind of fell apart on the big stage. There was a lot of that going around. And it turns out, well, listen, he didn't have his best night that night, of course.
He picked up the pieces, dude. He put Humpty
he
Dumpty
pick
back
him up,
together
and then
again.
some.
Yeah.
Dean Thomas and all the guys and that team have really turned a corner. And dude, you know, there's actually an interesting question in my mind. Can this, like, after this fight, people were like, how would Sean Brady's ground game match up with Shavkat? And then Shavkat and Bilal. And then what about a rematch with
Yes.
Sean and all? And I don't know the answers to any of those questions because I don't know how he matches up exactly with Bilal at this point. Obviously, we saw the first fight, but we'll see how it goes going forward. It would be competitive.
And we'll get to that topic too.
Fair enough. But if you're not on that level, oh, buddy, you're going to get found the fuck out against a guy like this. And Leon Edwards got absolutely, or at least metaphorically speaking, undressed by that.
Well, look, as we shift the conversation slowly from Sean to Leon, I'm not sure I've ever seen a situation where an entire sport turned on a fighter as quickly as they have on Leon over the past 2 fights. And this coming from a guy who didn't believe him on the way up and was sort of like, can we just get him his title defense or his title opportunity so we can get him out of here? And he won me over, and he did that. But as quickly as he won over the sport, it's turned on him. Let's show some of these pieces. First is this Sean Brady. R.I.P. Sean Bradley.
Go Birds!
Go Birds. Here's Sean Brady on Instagram with his full team here. So you see Sean Brady in the middle with his extended hand out. They're making fun in the comments of Headshot Dead, and Sean saying, y'all don't even got guns in London. I mean, this is just full on dunk, hang on the rim, teabag in the face. Now let's go to Brady at the post-fight presser, going a little bit deeper about where Bilal went wrong.
You mentioned in the build-up that it probably wasn't wise for Leon to be talking about Bilal so much. And I know the media were asking Leon about Bilal. What did you make of it now? Do you feel that Leon may have been overlooking you and more thinking about getting revenge himself?
Yeah, I think he was too worried about Bilal. He was too worried about how tall I am. He was too worried about a bunch of other things that didn't matter. And yeah, it showed tonight. He got smoked. So he should have been more focused on this fight. No, he hit me with a nice elbow. I blocked his kicks. Yeah, he didn't. Leon likes to be like he's like a pretty striker. He likes to have his range and have things go on his terms. And once they start going off his terms, he does dumb shit like shoot on me, and then it goes downhill from there.
That's kind of the key to the win. He never let Leon operate in a comfortable mid-range position to get his kicks off. He was just in his face the whole time. So he did in some ways kind of take the Bilal blueprint, adapt it to his own skills, and it was beautiful. It was a great thing to watch. In fact, we've got a section of tweets here from Bilal, who had a field day.
He had a
watching
night
this
on
fight.
Twitter, buddy.
You can see there, it says Headshot Dead. It says...
Sean copied my homework.
Yeah, I got
Leon's
that.
going to need a big motivational speech this round. Just how good is Bilal Muhammad? Leon's still on 5 a.m. time zone. Don't let him bully you, son. And what time is it in London? Asking for Leon.
So let me ask you, based on what we just saw here, the critical question. Is this the beginning of the end for Leon? Is this just who Leon is? Or is Leon, as an elite fighter, already over? How do you read from, yes, he got dominated, but there seems to be some self-implosive tendencies in terms of his confidence level, which needed that famous fifth-round speech to wake him up against Usman.
He'll never wear a title again. He'll never wear a title again. I can say that with total ease.
Not even the PFL
No.
pay-per-view super fight
Sorry.
title?
A UFC title.
Oh,
I
okay,
apologize.
okay.
Yes, a UFC title. I have seen people go so far as to say Leon was never good, which I really don't agree with. That's not true. He is good.
No, watch the Usman rematch. Watch the Covington fight.
He's good. That to me is going too far.
Yes.
But the reason people are dunking, I think, is a couple of them. There's a couple of people. There's a couple of. Let's back up. Why are people dunking so hard? One explanation could be a lot of people were like, he salvaged himself in that rematch with Kamaru Usman in the 5th. Short of that, where is he? This kind of question, like he kind of, luck boxed his way into that.
Oh, yeah. Can we show that meme to accompany your statement right
Please?
there? Show the fast food meme. People are saying this is who Leon, and there's a lot of these. They're saying this is who
AI,
Leon
obviously, yeah.
would have been without the head kick.
Right.
Which
So-
is so far past what we should be talking about, but it's feeding into
Right.
what you're saying right
But
now.
I'm not here to declare that's a valid perspective as much as I'm to say it's a fairly commonish one. But the other one to me is much stronger, which is, okay, again, one more time, fighting Bilal Muhammad. You already had to face a bunch of wrestlers in close succession. You had to face another one. Granted, it was at 5 a.m. He might have had some other issues with camp. Lord knows he had many of excuses after that fight, BC. He fails to perform. And then we come back around this time, and he's saying things like, I'm stronger than Sean Brady. If I fought Bilal 10 times, I'm going to win 9 of them. It looked to me like he learned absolutely nothing from the Bilal Muhammad loss other than a series of bad circumstances affected him rather than, yes, those were difficult circumstances. Fighting at 5 a.m. has to suck, right? That has to suck. At the same time, to me, the bigger lesson was Bilal was simply better than him, and there were real problems with his grappling. The kind of grappling that he had gotten used to for Kamaru and Colby was totally insufficient against a guy who's got more updated modern game, and I think the kind of guy who can do a little bit more mat wrestling. Well, Sean Brady is that times 10. Not the same kind of wrestler, but on the mat domination. Once you are dragged down there, dude, look what he can do. And to have such an arrogant fighters are confident. But I'll tell you what, BC, everybody knows, like when George St. Pierre was around, I remember there'd be time after time after time where he would like big up the guy who he was fighting. And yeah, of course that was partly promotional, but
Partly Bushido.
Also that. But also and you know this to be true at the time, but the older you get, the more you really realize how important it is. These champions who it feels like sometimes they're forcing humility into their perspective, and maybe it is forced, but it's forced out of necessity for success at longevity.
Right.
In order to be good over the expanse of your career, you have to over-prepare for your opponent, not be like, I'll get by. That's the thing.
And you had these concerns pre-fight, and I'm like, dude, this guy's only 33. He was pound for pound last year.
He was saying bullshit after his loss to Bilal.
All of your fears of his excuses actually turned out to be right. I got to give you that. I mean,
and again, I'm going to say it. Was fighting Sean Brady an easy task? Of course it was not.
Right.
But all the more reason to take it seriously. All the more reason to look at the Bilal fight and be like, there might be some lessons I need to learn here. And of course, I know he accepted on short notice. It was supposed to be Jack Della Maddalena, and that turn of events probably didn't do him any favors. But Sean Brady took it a day after his daughter was born, at a bare minimum the day after he left the hospital on short notice. And BC, can we spend a moment in time talking about him shooting in that third round? Can we please stop and talk about that?
I had to stop acquiring sound of people dunking on him because I had too many pieces for this show. But Brady went on a rant against it, being like, that's the stupidest decision I've ever seen in there.
Okay. Go to UFCstats.com. Okay? UFCstats.com. And they'll tell you all the stats that they measure over the fighter's career and individually in a round and in a fight. These include things like knockdowns, takedowns, strikes that landed, strikes that were attempted, reversals, subs, control time, you name it.
Sure.
BC, I could make one argument that shooting on him is just dumb as shit no matter what, right? Because I know people are like, oh, he did it against Kamaru, he did it against all these guys, usually to quite poor effect. He had that one trip where he landed in mount, but he didn't do anything with it with Kamaru. Like, it looks nice, but what was the functional value?
Oh, so you're a wrestler now.
Right. But the point being is, those guys don't have the same kind of submission or mat wrestling and mat control that Sean Brady has. And you might say, well, how could you be so sure? Guys, go to UFCstats.com. In the second round of this fight, in every single category that the stats providers use to measure what happens in a round, Leon Edwards had 0 in literally every single one. BC, it's not that he didn't land a strike. He didn't even throw one.
Because he was on the ground for 4 minutes and 57 seconds.
Right. So my point being is, you get fucking blanked like that in round 2, and then in round 3, you have the audacity to shoot on this guy.
So is this
is what I mean.
Less
his arrogance about totally disconnected from his actual ability relative to his opponents.
Right.
Bit him in the ass big time.
But was this more
all-time bad judgment? Sorry,
well,
BC.
it's comparing all-time bad judgment. Was this more or less desperate than Conor shooting on Nate in round 2 at UFC 196?
Much more desperate. Sorry. No. That was desperate because in Conor's case, he needed exhausted.
Break. Yeah, he needed a break.
He was exhausted, and he kind of fell into it. And that's the other part, too. It wasn't even a good shot. Dude, that is one of the worst decisions I have ever seen an elite prize fighter make. I don't know why he did it. People can speculate. You can decide what his motivation is. I can't mind read. What I can say is, if you're trying to win, that's the worst thing you could have possibly done. And another reason why folks may not appreciate this, he had all of round 2 to get a feel for what a guy like Leon's going to do. What escape is he going to try when I go for this pass, when I lean this way? You get a feel for someone's defense. And when there's that much difference between someone's grappling ability and they begin to get a feel for your defense, round's over, new round starts. Dude, they're going to carve through you much quicker the next time.
Yeah.
And you gave it to him. And
It
you
was a bad
gave it
moment.
to him.
It wasn't like as bad, in my opinion, as the Weidman mistake that led to him losing the title to Rockhold or some of these others
That's
in
a bad
history.
one.
Steve Erceg late in that fight.
That's a bad one too.
Gastelum after he hurt Adesanya in round 4 shooting for that takedown. You remember that?
That's a
too?
bad one as well.
There's been a few of those moments. It was a bad moment, and it's playing into what we're saying. The whole MMA world, right or wrong, maybe wrong. Like it's aggressive. Man, people are like, let's get this guy out of the sport now. So I do feel for Rocky because a lot of us overlooked him on the way up. Then he got here, and now it's like he was never there to begin with. That's the sport. That's
He was the
sport,
guy
though.
to take out the previous generation of elite welterweights.
Yes.
He took out Kamaru. He took out Colby. But guys like Bilal and Sean, they have a different kind of grappling game for which he is quite clearly woefully unprepared.
So he was a transitional champion ultimately in a lot of ways.
Which is important. And again, it's not a question of is he a good fighter? He is a good fighter, which makes this decision, frankly, in my mind, all the more indefensible.
Yes.
But if you're good and you know he should have confidence in his abilities, the confidence comes from doing the work necessary to handle the respective challenges, not from just these guys are scrubs because I don't take them seriously. And that inability to differentiate between those two things cost him dearly in this fight.
Unquestionably. Final piece in segment 1 here is we always, group you in the same grouping of hashtag girl dads of, people like you, the late Kobe Bryant. It's really changed their life. It's changed Sean Brady's life too. And here's a little life-changing cashola on top for old Brady.
Hey, we got 50 G's. No one's behind me. I get to buy my daughter some stuff when I get home. Let's go. Thank you,
genuine.
UFC. Let's go.
That's genuine right there, okay? It's like a real-life moment. Shout out to like Tuki's going to get new shoes, right? That's what it's all
I
about.
exchanged very briefly some DMs with him this weekend.
I love that man. He's a very, very, very quality individual. Happy for him. Let's go into topic number 2, and it really is surrounding maybe what could be next for Sean Brady. Let's hit it. The state of welterweight in the UFC. I don't know. I'm starting to feel like this is the deepest division in the sport. There's a lot going on, a lot of potential contenders. So, Luke, Sean Brady's performance does have the potential to wreak havoc at the top in this title picture of what right now, like I said, might be among the deepest. 2-part question here. Let's go with number 1 first. A lot of people talking about it. Should Sean Brady, based on this performance, be allowed to leapfrog an injured/inactive Shavkat Rakhmonov to get the first shot at the winner of Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena?
If it is such the case that by the time that fight, when I say that fight, I mean the welterweight title fight rotation, 3 to 4 months, 5 months or so, somewhere around that, maybe even 6. If Shavkat is not ready and cannot be available on that timeline, yes, he should. Now, if Shavkat is ready, I'm less inclined. That win over Leon, I mean, if you think about it.
I mean, you have a bon air for Shavkat. Let's just put it out there.
Well, here's the deal. He was supposed to get the title shot.
Yes.
It got taken from him by no fault of his own.
And he still fought Ian Gary on
And
like
he
an
still
hour's
fought
notice.
Ian Gary. And again, that fight was not, I mean, that win is not even remotely as impressive. I mean, let's just be clear. Sean Brady's win over Leon is better than any win Shavkat has. That's just a fact. But guys, the reality is the sport moves very quickly. It's not necessarily all that surprising that another surging contender put together something impressive while another guy is sitting on the sidelines. That's simply the nature of what happens during injury timeouts. And I don't mean in the middle of a fight. I mean like a timeout in your career. Other guys just keep the train moving, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm kind of behind here. I get it. My point being is he was already in that position. I feel like we have to do right by him. But BC.
Yeah, say
BC.
it. Say it. Are you rapping right now?
I'm so animated because
Wiki.
we got so many guys who I either like their style of fighting, I like them as people, a combination of both. What about Shavkat if it comes to it? Shavkat versus Sean Brady. A boner
Good
from
Lord.
here to
Wow.
motherfucking Hanover.
And what's crazy is
You could do
a year ago, we thought we'd be sending Sean Brady to the butcher shop in that fight, right? A year ago.
Dude, Sean Brady, if he gets on top of anybody in that division, can submit him. There's nobody in that division, once it gets to the ground. Now, of course, taking Bilal down, not going to be easy. But if it gets to the mat, he can submit any welterweight on the planet. About that, I am sure. Guys, he had a match. They had handicapped some of the rules, BC, around leg locks.
Sure.
But he went up against Craig Jones and beat him.
Sean Brady?
Yes. Now again, they handicap the rules
Wow.
about leg locks. It's not a claim that he's actually better than Craig Jones, but it is to say he's pretty fucking competitive.
Yeah.
He's pretty competitive. Dude, he doesn't make positional mistakes. That's the kind of grappler you're dealing with. So we're in the middle of March Madness, BC. You could do JDM and Bilal on one side of the bracket, Shavkat and Sean Brady on the other. Now again, it's
you're
a
gonna
function.
make Ian Gary mad. You're going to make Ian Gary mad.
What? How is Ian Gary?
He lost. I get it. He
even
lost.
in this
But
conversation?
he's already upset that Jacko got the title shot over him.
You mean the guy who came off of a win
He
over
felt
Gilbert
like
Burns?
he showed in a loss to Shavkat that he deserved
No.
to be next.
Yeah.
It's
No,
his
no.
right, but yes.
You're allowed to take moral victories.
Right.
Moral victories don't propel you in the rankings.
You talking about Edgar Berlanga? Is that what you're talking about? Because I got him on my channel today. Don't miss that.
The
Don't miss
next
that.
time I take a gigantic L, I also am going to go to Puerto Rico and do a gigantic
Yes,
media tour.
yes.
Okay, but I'm just being serious. There's a lot of different plays here. But to me, the relevant question, I want to hear what you have to say, BC, is the relevant question is, what is the timeline for Shavkat's return?
That decides it, because I think Shavkat meritocratically and what he did for the company fighting Gary, not even for the interim title, just fighting Gary late notice because he's a man and he's 40 and he'll take on anyone who's in front of him. Let's hear, though, from friend of the program, Josh Thompson of the Weighing In podcast, who believes much stronger than me. He believes automatically here it should be Brady next.
Unpopular opinion, but I got to be honest tonight. Sean Brady's performance was spectacular. But the question has to be asked, does he jump Shavkat now for the title shot? Great finish over Leon Edwards. Great performance before that fight as well. Like, he's on a tear right now. Shavkat coming off, obviously, the win over Jeff Neal and the win over Ian Gary, which is very lackluster, but that's to be expected from two stand-up fighters. I think Sean Brady jumps Shavkat from Shavkat's inactivity, but Sean Brady having such a great performance. What do you think?
So if you listen closely, his point is that he believes the Neal fight, which was the first time we thought Shavkat might be human because he was getting kind of lit up at times in those exchanges, mixed with the Gary fight in which both were largely ineffective in trying to overtake the other one. So it became more of a point fight. That if you mix that with the injury, that right now, even if Shavkat was healthy, Sean Brady's the more active guy taking out big names, and look what he just did to the former champ. After hearing that argument, I mean, it's I kind of understand it. I would lean Shavkat. Obviously, it'll depend on the injury, but what do you think about Josh's take?
It's not crazy logic. And shouts to Josh Thompson. We like him over here at MK. It's not crazy. It's not crazy logic. I don't agree, but it's definitely not something that I don't know what kind of reaction he got. He was saying it's unpopular. I don't know how unpopular that would be, actually. I've definitely seen some whispers of that in conjunction with this one. I'll say it again. There's no question who has the single best win between Sean Brady and Shavkat Rakhmonov. Sean Brady does. Submitting Leon Edwards. And dude, like, he didn't just submit Leon Edwards. He fucking big brothered him. He big brothered him.
He did.
Like, that was light work for Sean. I mean, the first round was obviously, fine. But after that, that was fucking light work for him. And that is crazy.
And where did he get the redness in the eye? Was that on that elbow or was that?
I mean, again, into the first round, like, and a little bit in the second, actually, or maybe the third, he came out and popped him a little bit. But he was catching him with some of those elbows. We talked about the elbows in the clinch, did we not?
Absolutely.
The clinch was going to be an interesting position. And at first, it looked like Leon was doing pretty great in the first round, but then that all went to shit. I just feel like if you promise a guy a title shot, the only way you really rescind that is when they can't meet any kind of normal return to activity on a reasonable timeline. I also will say this. Sean Brady did already fight Bilal Muhammad. If Bilal ends up beating JDM, and I think Bilal very clearly deserves to be the favorite in that fight.
Yes, he does.
Now, again, JDM's dangerous, but whatever. If he wins, you're just going to put Brady right back in front of him. You could do that, but Shavkat, if he's not far behind, is a fresh matchup. And then you could see what kind of happens thereafter. By the way, it also depends on what Sean Brady wants to do. Does he want to wait? Does he want to get back out there? Does he want to be, reasonably consistent in terms of his frequency?
Well, he personally believes, and we got sound to throw to, that although what's going against him, of course, is that he already fought Bilal and got knocked out, he believes he did Leon way worse than Bilal did, and that plays into this argument. Let's listen to Sean Brady about the future.
Bilal tweeted, "Sean copied my homework." Was that a plan going into this fight to put on pressure on Leon? Because we have noticed when you give him space, he'll throw the leg kicks and you come into his game.
Yeah.
Was that a plan a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think I did a lot better than Bilal did. I think Bilal lost a couple of rounds. He had his back taken for an entire round. I think it was, 3-2 when they fought. I dominated Leon every round. No one's ever did it like me. And then I submitted him and made him quit in front of his hometown. You weren't going to, if we were in Philly, you ain't making me quit in front of my hometown. I'll tell you that. I'm going to sleep, son. So,
Luke, those are some interesting points as well. I want to get Long Island Luke's take from a degenerate level. If Sean Brady was fighting Bilal next, or if Bilal beats Jack Della and then we do that fight anyway, what would the odds be based on all of these facts we're talking about right here?
I think just based on the first fight, Bilal has to be the favorite.
Sure.
Sean definitely, his stock went up. He probably closed the odds a little bit after this performance, but I still think Bilal's going to be like minus 175, Sean plus 150.
But that'd be showing Sean a lot of respect based on the 3 fights since that Bilal fight.
Listen, this should be an episode where we talk great about Sean Brady, and we've been doing that, and we probably will continue to do it for quite a long time. If you rewatch the first fight, the only fight between Brady and Bilal, dude, Bilal looked really good. He shut down those takedowns very quickly, and then popped him with that right hand as he moved over. Like, this is what I mean. We're just going to put, why would you do a rematch when the first fight, to Bilal's credit, I'm not trying to bash Brady in any way. It's a great weekend for him, but Bilal won that one pretty cleanly.
Sure. That'll go against him in this larger
What I mean is, give it a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Let's wait a little bit so we get a different or at least in theory, a potentially different version of that fight the second time around. So anyway.
There you go. We also have a stat here on Twitter showing some Sean Brady stuff here. Fun fact, says Meredith Gaethje at nerd_Gaethje. Sean Brady is the only fighter to have a winning record after fighting Bilal Muhammad. Since that loss, of course, Brady. Now, I thought he was 3-0. They're saying no, he's 3-0 since then. Maybe this came out before the fight.
I'll double check.
Because he's now 3-0 because he beat Gastelum and then he beat the last.
Yeah, he smashed Gastelum.
Gilbert Burns in the last one. And as you can see, all the other fighters there, no one has scored a victory after that. That is a very interesting stat. Now it still means that if Shavkat's healthy,
right,
he deserve it. But the second half of this state of welterweight question is interesting, Luke, and I want to get your personal take here. Can you share for me your top 5 pound-for-pound ranking right now in the UFC at 170 pounds, including champion and including contenders, and not necessarily in terms of accomplishments, just the other half of the pound-for-pound debate? Current stock, pure ability right now. You can add in momentum because that matters. Who's your working 5 right now at 170 pounds?
I just want to say I can see your list here, and I cannot believe it.
All right. You want me to reveal it?
Yeah. Why don't you go first? Because I want to be clear. I think your list is insane.
All right. This is great.
All right.
This is great. This is going to be wonderful.
I mean, these are all good fighters. Your list is nuts.
Okay, number 5, I really toyed with this, but I'm going Joaquin Buckley.
That part I'm okay with.
The finishes of late, the win streak, the maturity that he's showing, the confidence, all of that. Momentum matters. He's got that. Number 4, Sean Brady.
I think this is weird positioning.
Number
but
3, Bilal Muhammad.
That is, you are so fucking. Wait till you see who's number 2.
Number 2, Ian Machado.
Okay,
Gary.
I quit. I fucking quit. How do you have him above fucking Sean Brady and Bilal Muhammad?
Because I think he has this ability to stuff takedowns, take away your strength, and put you into a point fight match.
He's got super limited offense.
I get that. But
for elite guys.
But he puts you into the terms of him from distance point fighting.
Sean Brady just submitted the former champion.
I got that, but he went in there against that killer Shavkat and made him look human. And I know he didn't win the fight. I'm not trying to do the Berlanga victory tour. I'm not saying give Ian the next title shot. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying that I'm this big closet Ian Gary super fan. I'm not. I'm just saying he has this ability to swim at this very high level, and I think there's a reason, even though sometimes he looks overwhelming, there's a reason why people don't dominate him, embody him, and get him. I have him too, and then of course number 1 I have Shavkat. Although I see the doubt of late. Maybe it's been fueled by injury, all that. Maybe a prime, full camp, healthy Shavkat is a different story for everybody. But that's my 5 at the moment.
Okay, yeah.
Long Island Luke, so that's me basically saying I think Ian Gary could stuff Sean Brady's advancement and make it a different fight. Am I crazy?
I don't think you're crazy, but I don't agree.
He's huge for this weight class.
Also, I think
he's
I'm
lanky.
swapping
He's
out-
not huge.
I'm swapping out Buckley for JDM in your top 5.
So
there.
I get that, but I looked at JDM's recent run. It's not just the inactivity, the injury. He was getting pieced up by Gilbert until he won that fight
Gilbert's
in the end.
very good, dude.
Dude, I don't think I haven't seen a dominant JDM performance against an elite guy lately where I'm like, yes, he really is that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what have you seen from Buckley? Him beating
Explosive
Colby
wins
Covington?
against
like,
legitimate names.
Dude, he beat 4 people in a year, and he looked really good doing it. I can understand that.
And I don't have process too
Nursultan
far out of this.
Ruzaboyev, like, you know, I mean,
Okay, fair enough. But he had to start somewhere. But like, where would you put Buckley?
I'd
Outside?
put Buckley 6. Yeah, I'm going JDM 5. I'm going
Oh, okay. I think you guys are high.
Ian Gary 4. I'm going Bilal 3, Shavkat 2, and Bilal 1.
Okay, let me do mine. I like his better, but I
Wait, you
still
had
don't
Brady
agree.
at what number?
2?
Yeah, 3.
Three,
Shavkat 2, Bilal 1.
Okay, I'm gonna go number 1, and I can't believe this is even debatable. Dude, put some fucking respect on Bilal
I
Muhammad.
have respect on him. He's
Number
so solid.
1, Bilal Muhammad with a bullet, dude. He has surprised me. I didn't see it. Listen, I didn't see his ascension coming either. I'm not some fucking grand sage, but it happened. It happened, and he did that win over Sean Brady. Go back and watch it. It ages well.
Oh, hell yeah.
Super well. Okay, he's number 1. Number 2, because he submitted a former champion, Sean Brady, is at
Above
number 2.
Shavkat.
Above
pound
Shavkat.
for pound at the moment.
Shavkat is going to be at 3. Now that's a close
Wow,
one.
you're
That's a
leaning,
close-
so you're leaning into the doubt around Shavkat.
I'm not leaning into the doubt. I have to respect what these other guys are showing.
But I'm telling you, we're not ranking today's thing on accomplishments. We're
I
ranking
understand.
on- okay.
Well, but you wrote not in terms of accomplishments, just in terms of current stock and
Yes.
pure ability
Okay.
/ momentum. Pure ability. What Sean Brady showed is
And
comprehensively
Bilal has
good.
crazy, massive momentum as well right now, even though he was hurt lately. But yes.
And dude, he has improved like to such a degree.
I know it's controversial. I'm just telling you, I think we're missing the rise of
Okay.
Ian Gary. I think we're missing part of it. We're
Okay.
missing the full package.
I'm
here.
going to go 4 Joaquin Buckley and then 5 Ian Gary. I think it's comical to put Ian Gary in front of any of the other 4 guys.
So
So
what,
wait, Buck versus Cuck. Who you taking?
Buck Cuck? Wow, that's incredible.
That's an
What are
average
we
Joe.
do- what are we doing?
Hey,
Wow.
that's an average Joe Art original piece.
Okay.
guys. I'm just shouting out.
I
the-
take
the
Buckley.
art.
I take Buckley. I'm taking
You
Buckley.
think so? You think Buckley stops?
I
Ian
think
Gary?
Buckley is further along in his development. Now, that being said, Ian Gary is quite young. I think how much younger is Ian Gary than Joaquin Buckley? Can you look that up?
I gotta look it up.
Yeah,
Yeah, Buckley's like mid-30s. Ian Gary, I think, is like 29.
late 20s. So I think the thing is, Ian Gary's got more time to get good, whereas some of these other guys are a little bit further along because they are older. Not all of them, obviously, but certainly in the case of Bilal and stuff like that. So it's not a question of ultimate upside. But right now, looking at the stock ticker, who's impressing me with their ability, momentum, and stock? Yeah, it's Joaquin Buckley over
So
Ian Gary.
Ian Gary is 27 years old. Joaquin
Wow.
Buckley will be 30 in about a month.
Oh, so Buckley's only 29. I take that back. I thought he was
Wait.
older. I
31
thought he
in
was
about a
like
month.
35.
Okay, still,
Okay.
he's in the middle of his athletic. This is what
Sure.
I mean. He's in the middle of his athletic prime. Ian Gary hasn't even started.
Okay,
it
what
yet.
if I had swapped it out? What if I left Shavkat at 1, but I
Okay.
put Bilal at 2, and I put Ian Gary at 3? Would this have been a controversy or crazy at all? I don't think so.
I mean,
It's just swapping Bilal and Gary on 2 and 3. I think we're going to be wrong about Ian Gary. I think we are. I think he's building something here. And it's
I don't
it's the
disagree
lack
with
of
that.
spectacularity that makes us go, I'm not sure. But who's bodying this guy?
what is Ian Gary's best win?
I mean, MVP did turn him into a wrestler, but he figured
What
out a
is
way to
Ian
win that
Gary's
fight.
best win?
The loss against Shavkat is Ian Gary's
That's
best
not.
win.
That's
But that's the truth. That's the
right.
truth. That's
okay,
what it
but
is.
that's.
I get what you're
that's
saying.
Not, that's not a thing.
I
to
get what
me.
you're saying. on
You
that.
got to go in there, dude. This is why what Sean Brady did is so impressive. He went in there again. These people have been like, "Oh, Leon was never good." Yes, he was. Yes, he was. You can say he fucked up in this fight and he's got other issues because that's true, but he's real good. Sean Brady went in there against a known, credible achiever and demolished him. Ian Gary simply hasn't done that yet.
Okay, so let's say Shavkat is healthy and this whole segment and debate is unnecessary. It really might be Ian Gary versus Sean Brady as the next fight, the next number 1 contender fight. The
And
next
Sean
one.
Brady, to me and to other outlets, has called out Ian Gary. I believe they have the same manager. It's something that I know he wants. Because, dude, I think Sean Brady looks at the grappling and is like, I'm going to feast on this guy.
Okay, so Long Island Luke, this is where we need your best degeneracy. Give us, if this is the number 1 contender fight next, give us the odds for Sean Brady versus Ian Machado Gary.
Personally, I'm favoring Sean, but it'd be close. I'm gonna go like -130 Sean, +115 Ian Gary.
I'm just saying.
I can live with that.
I get what we just saw from Brady, which was incredible. Is literally us changing the conversation and asking if he should be in the title shot next. So I'm giving him his respect. But I'm saying don't sleep on who Ian Gary really is. Don't miss this.
I believe in what Ian Gary can become.
His wife's ex does not live with him. It was a false rumor. Don't miss this, okay?
I can't believe the most undersexed males completely don't understand his life. But you neither here nor there. I believe fully, BC, because I got, you know what? Can I be honest with you? Your promotion of Ian Gary to me feels a little bit like not Kevin Lee, future world champion, which by the way, I was totally on board with. No, it feels to me like Francis is going to wrestle Cyril kind of thing to me.
I did get that right, though.
You got it right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think that will age well. It's not a question of what Ian Gary will become.
I got you.
Just where he is right now. And Sean Brady's doing really impressive shit.
Hey, it's a fun division because I could have put Carlos Prates right on the outside of that top 5. We don't know. This guy could be a fucking hot knife coming through 100%. All this butter right
And I got
now.
to say, we kind of treat welterweights sometimes a little bit like, it's not as bad as middleweight, but it's a far cry
because
from.
You got a lot of Wonder Boys, a lot of Colbys lingering, guys like that.
But unlike lightweight, you're looking at the young guys starting to push them all out. Now, Bilal's a little bit older, but how much time does he have left on top? It's hard to say.
Yep.
I freaking love what's happening at welterweight. This is what's supposed to happen. Healthy divisional turnover with the new guys coming in and pushing out some of the older ones. Great
Michael
stuff.
Morales also on that list, right?
100% he's on that list.
This is a fun.
He built like a fucking tank. Yep.
Luke, now is a good time, by the way, to remember where tequila's true story ultimately began, right? In 1795, Cuervo invented tequila. We love tequila on this set. Big part of what we do on pregame preview. And since that starting point, Cuervo has stayed true to its roots. It's the same family. It's the same land. It's the same passion. And 230 years later, they're still here in every pour, in every margarita, even if you drink 3 of them, and in every celebration. So enjoy the tequila that started it all. Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. ProximoCuervo.com. Please drink responsibly. Luke, I'm getting jazzed up for our UFC 314 pregame preview that's coming up on Wednesday, April 9th. We're going to get some Cuervo. We're going to get after a loaded Miami card.
That Miami card. And again, I'm glad you brought this up. It's not going to be on a Friday. It's going to be on a Wednesday. It's going to be on a Wednesday, folks. So that way we can get maximum time in front of your eyeballs.
Yes, and provide for my vacation a couple of days later. I have one thing to show you. Breaking news from the Joe. It happened Saturday night on the Joe Rogan. What do they call that? That live
The Fight Companion?
The Fight Companion podcast. Joe said, and I want to get Luke's live reaction. Joe said, quote, "I won't be at UFC 315. I don't go to Canada anymore. I'd rather go to Russia." End quote. This has been quote tweeted by MMA Fighting. Even made a post in a picture about this.
Canada is a great place with great things to see and great people. Like his loss, honestly. You know what I mean?
I love
his
Aaron
fucking loss.
Bronstetter. Is this a personal
Dude,
attack?
this
against him?
fucking bullshit about going after Canada is so fucking lame.
Wow.
Canada rocks. Like, I got nothing bad to say about Canada.
Even
it's cold as fuck. How about that?
Even Shaquille Majoudi's texts.
Okay, you know what? Now I hate Canada again. Okay, yeah, you know what?
I love
Rogan's
me some
right.
Shaq MMA.
Rogan's right.
All right. Hey, let's go to topic number 3, and it is, of course, the rest of UFC London beginning.
Oh, time out real quickly, if I may. I'm sorry.
Please, bring it.
We are supposed to get Cain Velasquez's sentencing in about 10 minutes. Long Island Luke, can you check out Nolan King on Twitter? He's there, I think. Okay? Thank you. Sorry
There
about
we
that.
UFC London's co-main event was a big storyline there in the light heavyweight division and in the larger title, Long Island Luke, and then in the larger title picture, because Carlos Ulberg claimed what would turn out to be a pretty disputed 3-round decision, or was it? That's why we're here to debate, against former champion Jan Blachowicz. So, Luke, plain and simple, we both watched this fight. Is there justification for all 3 judges scoring at 29-28, 2 rounds to 1 for Carlos Ulberg against his 42-year-old opponent who is coming back after nearly a 2-year layoff?
There are 2 ways to get title shots. 2 ways. One is you can go through and simply conquer a division as a contender, where you're just marching down big names, you're winning all the important fights, and you look like $1 million. Fans are interested. You might be marketable. You can all think of a million scenarios in which that has happened. Chris Weidman, Conor McGregor, you name it. There's just a million. That's one way to get a title shot. There's another way to get a title shot, which is not so much conquering, it's qualifying. Did you get enough wins? Is there someone else a little bit ahead? Does the UFC need you for some particular reason? As you're a fresh contender, do you speak to a certain market? Do you, whatever the case may be. To me, in this case, I think the scoring, we need to talk about the scoring round by round, because if you look at the judges' scorecards, they're all over the place.
We have them.
Oh, okay. So let's look at them here for a second. My point being is, from a broad perspective, leave them up if you can, Long Island Luke. From a broad perspective, Carlos Ulberg has qualified for a title shot.
Was it 8 straight wins?
Yes, he is qualified, but he hardly has a mandate. Now, to the point about the scoring individually.
He does prefer women, I think.
Say again?
In terms of his mandate, he prefers women, I think.
The point I'm trying to make is, if you look at this, there isn't, I don't think, a single round on all. Oh, no, the third round. Sorry, the second round.
That's the only one they all agree on.
That's
all
the
three give it
only
to
one they
Ulberg.
agree on, which I got to say, that probably was, to me, Ulberg's better round. I had it kind of like, I'm going to say, I had it like Ben Cartilage had it.
Round 2 is the only one I gave to Blachowicz.
You gave round 2 to Blachowicz?
I did. This was a very close fight. They both kind of canceled each other out. There was a lot of focus on the calf kicks. There wasn't takedowns. There wasn't dominant. I mean, I thought Jan landed that 2-punch combination that was the swing sequence in that close second round for me.
I'll tell you what, I scored it for Blachowicz. I know I thought Ulberg was going to win on Friday's MK, and I guess, obviously he did, but I thought after the fight was over, I was like, I think Blachowicz took it. And for me, BC, I want to get Long Island Luke's score here in just a minute. For me, BC, the difference was, and I would love to see what you think about this, I thought Blachowicz, even if he wasn't landing numerically as much as Ulberg did do more labor.
Sure.
I thought Blachowicz was visibly landing with more impact.
Well, that's why I scored the second round for him, and you just clowned it. Like that's or are you clowning that it's the only round I scored for Jan?
That it's the only round.
Okay, which is the central part of this debate, I think, because I wasn't watching live. I was sort of told by the internet coming in that this is the nicest guy in the world, Jan Blachowicz, and he is. It's a great interview. We love him. He's on this run of not getting the benefit of the doubt when you consider the title draw he had against Ankalaev. You consider when he welcomed Poatan to the division via split decision defeat. There's a lot of people that say the wrestling should have been scored more in the way he controlled Pereira, and he could have won that. Oh, poor Jan. This is the third time in a row they don't give him the respect. And then I go watch it. Yes, there's times he's chewing him up to the calves. And I did like that the 2 sequences actually in round 2 where he threw combinations in close and landed big shots. But overall, I felt because it was so close in terms of the impact of the strikes, that Ulberg was the busier guy and in some ways had longer controls, minor controls of the terms. But I just liked his offense better in a fight where I don't think either guy rose. I thought it was kind of a stalemate ultimately. So I didn't see the big screw job or debate. I thought it was a lot like when Jan Blachowicz was climbing the light heavyweight ladder and he had that main event against Jacare, and I was thinking, dude, if he knocks him out, this could be the breakthrough shot for a title. And what did Jan do? He played wrestle defense the whole time and won a boring 5-round decision, but he moved the chains, got in there against Corey Anderson in his next fight, knocked him out, and then got his title shot, and that's what happened. I get that sometimes it's just about winning, and this is what it turned out for Ulberg. And if we're going to have we can have the discussion of, has he shown you ability-wise that he's ready for the title compared with how much that 8-win streak actually shows? But I think this fight was a flip of the coin, ultimately, and who won that? I don't see the screw job element. Am I crazy?
Long Island Luke, how'd you score it?
So I had a bet on Blachowicz, so I was obviously rooting for him, but I scored it. First round, Jan, 2-3 for Ulberg. I don't think there's any scorecard here that would surprise me. I was saying this to BC. You could have gone 30-27 Jan, 30-27 Ulberg, or 29-28 either way. Every round was really close. I do think round 1 was a Jan round, 2-3 Ulberg, though.
I mean, I was surprised Ulberg won. I thought Jan won it, but I don't think it's close. I don't think it's a screw job.
Okay, so if you are surprised, then what was it from the Blachowicz attack? Just the fact that he did seem to land the harder shots?
Yeah, and again, you got good judges. Like Ben Cartilage is a really good judge.
I met him through Bronstetter in Vegas. Very nice guy.
Yeah. And he's like, dude, he's hardcore. Like, he's trying to be the best judge in the world, and he might be. But the point I'm trying to make is, it's not like I can't comprehend what the Ulberg, how you get to 29-28 with Ulberg. I totally understand that. I would just like to hear a vision articulated. Is it because he outvolumed him? Are you admitting that it looked in all 3 rounds that Jan landed the harder shots?
No, I'm saying in round 2, it definitely did. I gave him that round, and I felt round 1 and 3 were just inconclusive.
You didn't get that vibe?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I thought there were so many times he was taking him off of his foundation.
Maybe this is the reason why Carlos Ulberg won. Can we show the 3 judges' faces? See, See, I saw this meme about CKB, and I'm thinking, okay, this
No,
was
no,
man. They
no.
screwed my guy, and I'm not saying I'm overly impressed by Carlos Ulberg.
Why does Kai Kara have the belt in this picture?
Yeah, that is a little weird.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't know.
He never won the interim title, right?
No, I don't
He
believe
lost
so.
to Moreno.
He fought for it.
Yeah, but he never had it.
So that's all a joke and stuff. I just,
Dude, here's the thing. It's so like MMA, any sport, but in particular MMA, and obviously that's when we're talking about, the fans have their favorites. And Blachowicz has been something of a favorite.
Definitely.
Polish power. They love the memes. They love his attitude. And again, they like the way he fights. Like, dude, Jan Blachowicz. By the way, I got to say, he looked his age, but he didn't look, I didn't know how he was going to look from a fluidity standpoint.
Yes.
He looked pretty fluid.
he shook the rust off pretty quick.
Yes. It just looked to me like he kind of faded down the stretch.
I don't think he had the stamina to go for takedowns.
That's what I think,
and that
too.
maybe could have been the difference in this fight.
Totally. And I think he didn't have that extra gear to really put it on him, whereas Ulberg kind of did. And so that kind of made a difference in the end. But the point I want to make is they love Blachowicz.
Yeah.
And so was it close? Yes. So their favorite guy ended up losing a, not controversial, but difficult to accept close fight. And I think that explains some of the stuff you're
Well,
saying.
now, Luke, we're going to hear from Carlos Ulberg, sorry, in a second. But were you, I don't know if impressed is the word, but do you feel like Ulberg is showing us that he's ready for the title?
No.
Yeah, I didn't get that vibe
All right,
at all.
let's hear his take on that.
Do you feel that win really announces you at the very top of the division and top of the sport now?
For sure, yes. And if you look at guys like the current champion and the former champion, their last fight with Jan Blachowicz was a very close fight as well, and I beat him with a unanimous decision, UD. So it's a very good feat for me.
Final one, Pereira and Kalaev rematch, if that's next. Who do you see coming out on top of that?
I'm not too sure. I haven't even seen the fight yet, but I'll go back and I'll watch the fight too, and then we'll see where that places me to.
Jiri Prochazka mentioned he was interested in the winner of your fight next if you weren't going to get a title shot. And how do you feel you'd match up with him?
Yeah, for sure. I'll get anyone, but I mean, where is he placed at the moment? I'm looking to go forward for sure, and I'm definitely looking at a title shot in the near future.
I get Ulberg's stance there, but the other two guys who fought Jan weren't fighting a guy coming off of 18 months off with double shoulder surgery. So that, some of that does matter, right, to some degree. Yeah. And that,
Yes.
but what do you make? I think we all would like him against Jiri Prochazka if he can't get the winner of that rematch.
For sure.
But shouldn't he get the winner of that rematch between Ankalaev and Poatan, or would you be more than fine with making Ulberg go in there against a killer and have to really earn it?
I think I'd be okay with it. It's fucking light heavyweight. I think we just need to kind of accept where we are with this.
Okay.
And dude, here's the thing. It's like, dude, Yuri looked really good against Jamal Hill. We talked about some of the differences, taking defense seriously, and it only made him better. It only made him it only made him deadlier. And so for that reason, like, I kind of want to see how he does with this new perspective in a lot of different scenarios. But we just can't feed. Like, we don't have any interesting contenders. Honestly, I think
Carlos is the only one. He's
right.
the only one.
Ulberg fights Yuri. I think Yuri shoves him into the wood chipper,
Well,
to be perfectly honest.
Let's find out.
Yeah, but then if he does, you're just going to have Yuri potentially against Poatan again, because Poatan could win the rematch. You never know.
Yeah, I think they would do that.
Oh, man, I don't want to see that shit again.
Let's see
No.
a wholesome moment. We can talk over this. No volume at the hotel afterwards. Oh, there is volume. Now there's no volume. So that is Ulberg going up to Blachowicz. And ultimately, Luke, the message was he urged Jan not to retire, told him he doesn't want him to, told him he still has it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jan's a great dude, so they raised a pint together. I'm gonna go nuts on Bushido because we got enough toxic trash in this
Yeah.
sport, so it feels good on that.
Yep.
But do you think Jan at 42 should carry on?
Yeah. I think I wouldn't say that very normally, but I think he does have to be careful with his matchmaking.
Yes.
Because he looks to me like he still wants to get back and that, but one more push for the title. I don't know if that's in the cards, to be perfectly honest with you. Although I guess at light heavyweight you're never that far away. But the thing that I say, the thing that I would have concern about is he tries to keep going for this and then ends up fighting somebody he probably shouldn't, and then for the first time ever really gets hurt.
Yeah.
And that would give me some concern.
Didn't he get blanked by Maheta back in middleweight back in the day?
Okay, but at 205, where
Well, it was like
he's
devastating. Right?
yeah, but at I think he's.
Has he ever been stopped? I thought Long Island. Do you
I gotta
remember
pull
this?
this up now.
You got the internet right in front of you.
Who are we talking about right now?
I'm talking
Blachowicz.
Blachowicz. Didn't he get KO'd by Maheta viciously? Although it was like back at middleweight back in the day.
So
No, it might have been at 205.
yeah,
I guess
exactly.
Maheta, yeah.
So he lost to Jimmy Manuwa via decision. He lost to Gustafson and Patrick Cummins via decision. He lost to Thiago via KO in the third round, but I think that's a 205 because I think he had moved up. Thiago, that is.
Yeah.
And then he lost to Glover. He got subbed out by Glover. He lost to Magomed, or it was the draw anyway.
Well, the Glover was the title shot.
Yeah.
Or was the title defense.
So he's got the draw to Magomed, and then he has the back-to-back losses to Poatan and Olberg. But here's my point. He's lost 4 of his last 5.
Yes.
That is a problem.
That does matter. I got clowned for my Gunnar Nelson pronunciation the other day. Don't people remember like 5 years ago there was a point where the UFC was trying to tell us that that's the way you pronounce it, and then everybody just gave it up after that.
That is correct. There was a brief moment where they were trying to tell us it was Gunnar, but I think Gunnar's got a different meaning now.
Gunnar Nelson went in there against Kevin Holland in a welterweight bout. There's a lot of crazy grappling sequences, some good moments of ground and pound from Holland. Ultimately, Holland takes a 3-round unanimous decision, Luke. We talk so much about Holland, like always willing to be taking tough fights last minute. He only cares about fighting 4 or 5 times a year. He's the new cowboy. Like, this kind of is a good thing that he came out there with that performance, but I'm still weary is what I'm trying to say for the future.
Dude, I got to tell you, I thought this was a very good performance from Kevin Holland. We said it on Friday, man. Kevin Holland is a skilled fighter.
When he wants to, yes.
When he wants to, he's good. And I mean, there is simply no argument. He doesn't need to be fighting at 85. And I saw what he had to say. I think you have the clip.
I have it. Let's throw it away.
Let's play this clip because this one just bummed me the fuck out, man.
If it's 170 pounds, then let's be smart. I got that same computer. Let's be smart, and I'll freaking I'll possibly do a couple months down the road, then another one a couple months down the road. If it's 170 pounds, probably only get 2 more in this year, 3 at the most. If it's 185 pounds, I can fight every fucking weekend.
One question for me. What are you going to do now you're done with fighting for today?
Now that I'm done fighting today, I haven't smoked weed in a little bit, so I'm pretty sure somebody at the hotel will have some, and I'll burn that back like it's just a tree stump. The amount of money I make these days, I could slow down. The amount of money I make these days, I could definitely slow down. But the amount of money I spend these days, I stay active.
That's exactly what Cowboy Cerrone used to say. He'd be like, I want to fight 5 times a year because I want to buy this boat.
I mean, it's like the Chris Lytle approach where you might win, you might lose, but you rack up enough bonuses, you can put your kids through college and get some retail property as well.
So I'm asking you, is this a strategy from Holland, or does it just play into his personality?
I'll say this: if he can reasonably keep himself safe, where doing this doesn't put him at, fighting more frequently is going to be worse for your health than not fighting at all, obviously. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're completely and totally punting on the idea that you need to maximize your ability to climb a ladder to fight for a title, and that there's another business model that you can take advantage of
and still be famous.
You don't get the highest high end of the purses, but you might get a pretty good one.
And you might upset a big name along the way, right?
And just fuck it. So it's frustrating for me to hear that. Also, I'm worried about his spending habits. Remember, he was showing out ice and stuff, and I'm like, UFC fighters showing off their ice is like red flag city. But the point, either way, I'm glad that he is in a place where he doesn't have to have the title to get some financial stability and even comfort. But it is frustrating to watch a guy this good do that.
I know, especially at welterweight. He's got wins where you're like, man, if he cared, and I think if he focused on grappling a lot too, like he moved down in weight and the motor was somehow even stronger, But
what blew me away was in that first round, dude, Kevin Holland's guard was good.
Yeah.
It was defensively good. He didn't get past. He was threatening with the submissions, and you're not going to really submit Gunnar Nelson. That's really not going to happen in all likelihood.
And he stays jacked, by the way.
He does stay jacked. But the thing I'm trying to point out is you're probably not going to sub him, but he was definitely keeping him honest. He was definitely keeping him honest the whole time, which by itself, you're not getting past and you're threatening at least a little bit with the guard. Dude, that's hard to do. And then he dropped him at the end of the first. I was like, dude, Kevin Holland is freaking good when he wants to be.
When he wants to be, that's the question. Meatball Molly will no longer be around. Molly McCann, in what turned out to be her final bout here, did give us a nice moment with the Liverpool crowd, and you saw Patty Pimblett crying, but it came after her first round submission loss to Alexia Tainara. Luke, this is where I really regret the UFC YouTube police that prevent us from showing any form of broadcast footage of any event anymore. Because even though this topic and even though the fallout of this bout will be about that meteor that was the Meatball Molly experience that came through and gave us some spinny shit and got a Barstool sponsorship and all that. But Tainara's stance to the cage, which was very Michel Pereira-esque, but the celebration dive / twerk grind into like the monster logo in the center of the cage was one of the most unhinged, incredible moments in UFC history, up there with big boy Chris Barnett doing the flip and the split and all that. Can we talk about that dance first? Is Tainara even good? Because I got some Fiona vibes. I've got some theatrical Demopoulos vibes. This could be must-see TV every time out.
She was full of life, was she not? She was. I mean, I'm being serious. She was full of life.
She was a pack of Mentos. Yes.
Like, dude, like my daughter will go around the house yelling, and you know, she won't hear this. She's not necessarily Aretha Franklin when it comes to singing.
Oh, come on, let it go, please.
Okay, well, let it go, let it go. So my point is, though, it doesn't matter, right? Because she's joyful. She brings joy to the house. She's happy to sing. You know, she's full of life too.
Just don't let Tukey twerk like that. Yeah.
Oh no,
please,
no. I mean, she's 5, BC.
Okay, because that's just.
Can we not do this, please? Can we not even like mention this kind of thing around my daughter? The point I'm trying to make is, I don't know how good she is because, frankly, I don't really know what it means to beat Molly McCann. It's certainly not nothing. And by the way, to do it on like insanely short notice, that is impressive.
Not in Liverpool, but in the UK, there it's a big win for her.
Yeah, it's a big win. I think the thing I would come away with is, do you now have interest in seeing what's next for Tainara in a way that perhaps you never imagined before? Yeah, I guess I would imagine that I do.
Long Island, Luke, what was the main card minute live reaction like to the celebration and submission from Tainara?
Well, dude, we were all saying she's going to gas out in 2 minutes. But I will say I was calling all week Tainara was going to armbar Molly.
Wow.
I am happy she got the sub, but I was calling the armbar, so a little bummed there.
And Molly fought off that first deep choke attempt aggressively.
Well, remember, Tainara had to fend off the sub attempt from Molly, then take the back, then go for the sub. Didn't quite work. She had the one-handed bit. And then she readjusted and got I think it was a bicep grip, whatever it was. You know, it was good work by her. And then she did the diving twerk. I'd never seen diving twerk. Let me tell you, I've seen some twerking. You know, I've seen some twerking in my days, but I'd never seen a diving twerk like that.
As an ex-Marine, there's no such thing of you definitely have seen it, Luke.
Dude, can I just tell you the absolute ash-trade, washed up, fucking husks of former humans that I've seen doing stripping in strip clubs in the smallest, worst towns ever imaginable.
Oh yeah, we keep those stories to ourselves or on the next OG room service.
I went to a strip club once, and the girl who was like, it was like in the afternoon because you know it was daylight because I'm a fucking degenerate.
You're like, hey, well, they got a buffet. Let's,
do you think I'm not eating the tater tots at strip clubs?
Yes. Just don't eat the wings, please.
Okay, at Camelot in New York, or not New York, in Camelot in DC, which is on
Camelot.
First of all, I've been thrown out of there. I've been thrown out of Camelot.
Oh boy. Okay.
And I've eaten the buffet. Here's what I want to point out though. I one time went to one in the middle of the afternoon, and they don't put like the full array of dancers in the middle of the day.
Yes.
The one that was there was taking shots with all the patrons, and then fell off the pole because she was so drunk, and they had to come and like take her backstage, and there was like an hour-long intermission where they didn't have anybody on staff.
Did they play music during the intermission?
And I waited the full intermission because I was pathetic in my 20s. I
don't know how we transitioned from that story into this, but Luke, how will you remember Molly McCann, who look, was an honest fighter with a good backstory and a lot of charisma and spunk, and went all in on her fights, win or lose? How do you remember Molly McCann?
I mean,
you're like, I'm trying not to.
No, it's not even. I'm not going to sit here and be disrespectful about it. I mean, she had. She was a reasonably important figure as a newer generation of UK stars emerged on the MMA scene.
The Robin to Patty's Batman?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was important for big personalities to get out there and carry the flag for the UK, which she did. She absolutely did. She played a big role. You know, in terms of like best wins and like what her career meant and all that stuff, you know, it never really got out to any kind of degree where you have to assess that sort of thing. But I think we can all agree she was a personality and a identifiable figure for the fan base, for that era of fighters. And, you know, she did well for herself.
Were you moved by Patty's tears on the way out?
No.
All right, Luke Thomas said what he said. So, Luke, Shauna Bannon of Ireland had quite a turnaround from getting head kicked by her opponent and getting floored to turning that into a armbar of sorts and a spectacular win. But this was very regional MMA-like, to be fair.
A win like that should never happen at the UFC
She
level.
doesn't move her head one time or defend, so it was kind of hard.
Puja Tomar doing nothing to defend that armbar other than a little bit of standing, basically.
Are those the type of fights Dana prefers, ultimately? Like being straight up and honest. That is the type of fights he prefers. Those are TV fights. He prefers.
I guess to an extent. I mean, I do think he likes like the high-level guys too, but listen, I'm going to say it again. Every part of MMA has its place.
Yes.
Amateur MMA has its place, regional, international, and then full-on world level. But that is very far from world level MMA, and it's on a world level card. And I don't want that from the premier MMA organization. I want, either world level MMA or something very close to it. This is a far cry from that. So I give Bannon credit. Like she got drilled and then rallied. That's not easy to do. She's obviously got some like significant heart. Credit to her. Like that's tough to do. But in terms of skill development, there's a long way to go between those two being anywhere approximating world level.
I know you don't speak Reddit, but your delivery of "I don't want that" was so in tune with Theo Von on his last episode of King and the Sting when Hot Chip tried to put that hot chip between them to ease the awkwardness.
I've not seen this.
Oh, okay. There you go. Could you tell me something on this UFC London undercard that I probably didn't watch that you enjoyed or want to talk about with the people?
The prelim card was, I don't think everyone's favorite, if I can just be honest, right? I don't think everyone loved it per se. I will say this. Best fight on the prelim card, probably going to be the Kavanaugh Dos Santos fight, or you could go another direction. You could go, you could go that direction. I have to say, Jordan Vucenic, who I do think is a good fighter, he also had an insanely bad decision in that fight with Chris Duncan. He also shoots for a takedown 80 million miles away, right? 80 million miles away. It gets stuffed. All right. But then they separate eventually, and he has another shot. And then he runs him back into the fence while he's doing well on the feet and clearly is much smoother on the feet than Duncan, and then still elected to run him back into the fence. I found that absolutely baffling. He is much, much, much better than that. I think he's going to want that one back big time.
Long Island Luke, I know you love something that happened on that undercard. I know it.
It was on the main card, but the main card opener, Nathaniel Wood, Morgan Charriere, that was a great fight. Nathaniel Wood looked damn good on the feet. He dropped Charriere at one point.
5-1 at featherweight, right?
Yeah, that was a good fight. Worth going back to watch.
All right. No one delivers like Luke Nocita. Let's go to topic number 4, and what a delivery from Rodtang. It was one championship, 172, a Sunday pay-per-view. Unfortunately, though, there was so much demand on the website that it crashed, and one had to give the pay-per-view away for free, which it still is on their YouTube channel right now. It was Rodtang versus Takeru, and as Timothy Wheaton last week. Shout out on MK, by the way.
How great did he do?
Performance to set the stage. Dude, he made that feel like we're going to watch Hogan versus Andre at WrestleMania 3, right? Like, I was ready for that shit. Okay?
I don't think he was lying to us. It just didn't quite turn out
great.
that way.
So, Luke, let's talk about it. First round K. Oh, wow. Despite the website issues, as we mentioned, 172 successfully captured a good, chunk of the combat sports attention from the weekend, and maybe rightfully so. How impressive in your eyes was the 80-second finish KO round 1 Rodtang over Takeru? I
gotta say one thing, man. I went back and I watched this. I missed it live, so I had to go back and look, and I rewatched it again. Man, is it me? Tell me if I'm wrong. By the way, Long Island Luke, did you watch one?
No, I was not up at 3 a.m. on Saturday, unfortunately.
Dude, they made it look big.
Yeah.
They made it. We always talk about that here, like what the promotions can do. You know, obviously we know the UFC can do that, but can the other ones? They did, dude.
Saitama Super Arena, you're getting a crowd there.
I don't think they sold out necessarily, but they had a pretty good attendance, and the lighting and the stage and then the ramp, dude, one did a really good job with that. I have to give credit where credit is due. I thought that they made it count when it was supposed to count. However, it just ended in 80 seconds, basically off. I'm not even joking. 2 left hooks.
A brutal one, but yes.
So I have to say, I do think that Rodtang, this win will propel him in ways that, the Edgar Tabarez fight is not going to do much for him, and it didn't mean much, but this one will. But if I can just be honest, and again, we are not kickboxing experts by any stretch of the imagination, but the kickboxing experts warned us heading into this contest that Takeru was kind of considering retirement at different stages, especially after the super leg fight, with his leg all messed up. And this is a guy who just is a head down brawler, and it kind of caught up with him. It looks to me like his ability to resist a shot has been significantly diminished. Yes. Now, Rodtang landed 2 excellent shots on him.
And Rodtang said coming in that he didn't believe Takeru's leg had healed from the super leg fight, and that he did attack it early and went after it.
Yes, no doubt about it. He went after it too. But it just seemed to me like if you've built a style on just hard gym wars, hard sparring, brawling out, you can do that for a while. But I think Takeru is 33, almost 34 years of age. He looks, based on everything, I'm trying to understand what the experts say, it looks to me like that bill has come due.
Yeah.
The bill has come due, and he simply doesn't have the resistance anymore to be in fights like that against Rodtang, who, by the way, Rodtang has been in 300 plus, some absurd number of fights. They call him the Iron Man. They're not all built like Rodtang.
But there is a difference, though. Rodtang, who missed weight a bunch lately and was kind of starting to be criticized as he making too much money, living high off that and not focused. He would say afterwards that the recent weight misses turned out to be a huge wake-up call. He hired a full-time nutritionist for the first time, and that's why you saw him come in so ripped. Now, we didn't get to see that gas tank on full display, but it shows you that this was a refined version to some degree, and then maybe to your point, Takeru hanging on.
One has been trying to turn this guy into a big star, and I think they've done a pretty good job. But to the point you raised, the weight misses, he did lose to Superlek in September of 2023.
Did Rodtang, right?
Rodtang, yes. And, of course, he lost to Demetrius Johnson in that weird fight all the way back in 2022. He's had some – they didn't exactly know what to do with him at times, and even when they did, he didn't necessarily show up. This time, he did do all of those things. This time, he crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, and then 2 left hooks just dispatched with Takeru.
Well, let's see the Bushido and the post-fight press conference afterwards as Takeru and Rodtang got together and embraced, and you love to see that. Unfortunately, Takeru, we don't have the video, but he walked out of the arena after the loss with head down in shame, which you understand the honor and the pride that comes with that area of the world and the sporting culture. Let's now hear from Chatri Sityongtong, the CEO of one of what could be next here for Rodtang.
See next for him. Actually, the next fight for Rodtang is going to be Haggerty. We're doing Haggerty versus Rodtang, next one. But of course, Rodtang has many fights for him now. He can call his shots now. He'll fight anybody. Rodtang will fight anybody.
It was Takeru afterward who told Chatri he wants an immediate rematch with Rodtang. I don't know if he's going to get that. Jonathan Haggerty that you mentioned, it would be a trilogy. Rodtang has a knockout and a decision win, but Rodtang got stripped of his Muay Thai belt because he missed weight. So this would be an opportunity if they put the title on the line.
Also, Haggerty's had some difficulties more recently, so I don't know I guess they're going to do it, but we'll see what happens.
Well, the crowd went nuts for Rodtang, and watch this bit afterwards. He hadn't taken his gloves off yet, and he was asked for an autograph. Is this normal? I've never seen this in combat sports, so he just did the "I'll sign it with my mouth" bit. You into that?
Whatever works.
Whatever works, right? Also, after the fight, Rodtang was back in his hotel room playing FIFA. Watch this celebration from a big victory. Yeah, that's all I like. Look, I like that. How can I incorporate that into MK? You think I got to stand up and do that more often, right?
I'm just going to point out soccer, BC. You should learn to watch it.
Well, I mean, sport. I have. I danced on my couch when Landon Donovan scored that goal in 2010
against Algeria.
That? Yes, it was a big moment in my life. All right.
Did you watch the U.S. men yesterday?
I don't mess with that shit.
Look at me. They're dog shit.
Well, that's probably why. Let's hit anything else on that. We had Superlek, by the way, missing weight. And then he would drop a 3-round decision to Nabil Anane, and it's not normal that Superlek loses. Dude, that guy's resume is ridiculous. He beat both Takeru and Rodtang.
Yeah, he also failed the weigh-in protocol between hydration.
Yes.
And it was an issue for him. Dude, I'm going to probably mispronounce their name. I did go back and watch to see how it was pronounced. You hear it a few different ways on the broadcast. But Masaaki Noiri defeating Taiwan Chai. Taiwan Chai, I looked this up. I have it here in front of me. According to some of the betting odds in various places, I won't say exactly where, but you had Noiri closing at plus 600 in certain places with Taiwan Chai at minus 900 in a bunch of different spots. This was a gigantic upset. Hit him hard, left hook to the body, then came over the top, dropped him. Again, left hooks doing all of the work here between the main and the co-main. But just to see a guy who got match made hard apparently early in his one run, kind of began to turn things around, had a rough start in this fight. Taiwan looked real good in the first round, but he kind of slowly stuck with it and then bodied him in that third round. Huge. And, obviously for the Japanese, it sucked that Takeru lost, but to have Noiri win in the co-main was a huge deal for them. So at least the Japanese market got to get their back scratched a little bit, yeah?
Is there one does get creative. They're not afraid to put their champions against each other multiple times. They're not afraid to put Rodtang in the DJ crossover match. Is there an MMA fighter personality that would work in another hybrid match with Rodtang that one would have access to and also would be the kind of thing where it would be like, oh shit, that's like mythical matchmaking. Like, is there like a close to retired small, like somebody like Patricio Pitbull, somebody like that?
You could have done something with him, but obviously that door is now closed.
Because that would have been gnarly if they did a mixed rules match with those guys, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that. I don't know.
Well, that's 172. Seems like a win overall for
also Adriano Moraes losing in the first round to Wakamatsu
in the rematch, and this was for the vacant title. Yeah,
I couldn't believe that. I was very surprised by that. I'm sure I've seen
and
anybody
Ed
else.
Furlong of Terminator 2, didn't he take over Aoki in that win?
Wait, no, Aoki fought Foliang.
Yeah, from
the
G2.
Filipino guy.
Yeah.
Yes, and then went on a tweet spree shitting on Chatrian 1. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, in Japanese, but he did it.
Damn.
I don't quite know what that's all about, but yeah.
All right, let's go to topic number 5, and it was a death in the combat sports world over the extended weekend, and this one hit big because we're talking about big George Foreman, who wasn't just an Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion, and maybe the author of the greatest comeback in sports history when he won the heavyweight championship at the age of 45 in 1994 to set a new record. When you factor in the grill selling, the fact that people forget he had a sitcom on ABC in 1993 called George, we're talking about a household name over multiple generations, somebody that truly crossed over, and at age 76, we said goodbye. No cause of death from his family, as far as what I can see. But I think he was ill for a bit of late.
His family did comment. Mm-hmm.
Oh, what did they say? I didn't see that initially.
I'll pull it up. Give me a minute here to find it.
But Luke, so much you can say about this man's legacy. So much more than the typical death in combat sports. So from winning the gold medal to earning reportedly upwards of $200 million over 3 decades for putting his name on the George Foreman grill, which sold 100 million units, by the way, to many things that go beyond the boxing ring. How will you best remember Big George Foreman?
If I may, I would like to read the statement from his family announcing this. Here's what they write. This is from the family of George Foreman. Quote, "Our hearts are broken. With profound sorrow, we announce the passing of our beloved George Edward Foreman Sr., who peacefully departed on that day, surrounded by loved ones. A devout preacher, a devoted husband, a loving father, and a proud grand and great-grandfather. He lived a life marked by unwavering faith, humility, and purpose. A humanitarian, an Olympian, 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. He was deeply respected, a force for good, a man of discipline, conviction, and a protector of his legacy, fighting tirelessly to preserve his good name for his family. We are grateful for the outpouring of love and prayers and kindly ask for privacy as we honor the extraordinary life of a man we were blessed to call our own."
Yeah, so no cause of death. I don't know, not that it would matter, but a nice message from the family, Luke.
For sure.
This hit a lot of people really hard, rightfully so.
Yeah.
What's your George Foreman experience? How will you remember him?
I mean, we grew up as children of the 90s, and it was such a big deal that okay, so if you grew up at the age that me and BC did, where you miss, of course, everything he did in the 70s live, it takes time to go back and watch all that stuff.
Legend. You grew up with that as legend.
But then, I mean, like Chuck Mindenhall made a point, like he beat Michael Moore in 94. Mm-hmm. By 96, the Olympics were taking place in Atlanta, and that's when Ali, I'm not trying to make fun of him in any way, but he didn't have a steady hand from Parkinson's as he was trying to light the Olympic torch. Just about a year and plus before that, Foreman won the heavyweight title of the world.
And they were the same era.
And they were the same era. There's a quote, it's often misunderstood from acclaimed American author F. Scott Fitzgerald that there are no second acts in American life, but it really is not in the way, he meant it in a different way, but in the way that it's misunderstood, people seem to think that like, oh, well, there's no way to get reinvention. But of course, we know that's not true. People reinvent themselves all the time, and there is nobody almost in sports who has done something like that to the degree that George Foreman did, where you are just one of these dominant figures beating Joe Frazier. That's the famous fight where you hear the down goes Frazier, down goes
knockdowns
Frazier.
in 2 rounds.
Two rounds. And then he became a terrifying force. And then, of course, Ali beats him in one of the most important boxing matches ever. But then they forge a relationship, and it changes him over time. He walks away from the sport, comes back 10 years later in his late 30s, and then at age 45, he won the heavyweight title of the world. Guys, I would like to give you some sense of proportion. I am 45. My back hurts if I sleep on my side at night, and he won a world title at this age.
And that was after taking off 10 years to be a preacher, retiring at 28.
In one of his fights, he had said he'd heard the voice of God that called him to do this. He lost that contest.
So it was Jimmy Young,
Jimmy Young
1977
fight,
in
that's
Puerto
right.
Rico. He was hallucinating backstage. He was dehydrated, and he had this moment of clarity of where he became a born-again Christian and just gave up the sport right there.
And then, he was gone for such a long time, comes back and does the improbable. And by the way, when he came back on his comeback tour in the late 30s, he didn't win all those bouts.
Late 90s, or late 80s.
Late 80s and early 80s. What I'm trying to say is, and then, BC, when we were in college, everybody and their brother had the Foreman grill.
Yes.
And he became insanely wealthy from this. People don't remember this. His children also gained a degree of popularity, in part because all of his kids, including the girls, are named George.
No, just the boys. I don't think all the girls.
The girls have George or Georgina or some derivation of
It's
it.
Georgette or something.
Georgette,
Yeah.
they have it in the name.
And that's because his mom had lied to him his whole youth, telling him a different guy was his father that she had married after his birth, but and never revealing the identity of his real father, who they knew and was a member of their community. So he felt so betrayed that he never wanted his kids to not be known who they're linked to.
I'm just saying, BC, it's remarkable when someone can achieve. It's remarkable when they can achieve at different stages, but when they can achieve in so many different eras, in so many different ways, and it's a different thing that powered George to be a heavyweight champion in the 70s versus why he became a champion in the 90s. He couldn't have done it trying to be the old guy.
No.
The older version of himself. I'm sorry. He had to be who he was at that time. And then after that, to have pop culture cachet, it's a remarkable life that won't soon be replicated.
No, I mean, and the key part, I wrote a column, a lot of people read it on CBS Sports, where it's not just how unique his career is, that he has 2 Hall of Fame careers in one, or the fact of just the comeback alone, right? I mean, that was the 30th fight of his comeback. When Michael Moore had picked him, people had left. He was coming off that kind of disputed loss to Tommy Morrison. Remember, he had lost to Evander Holyfield, although he fought well for the title.
And Moore had
years
just beaten
before.
Holyfield.
And Moore beats Holyfield, who we thought was done. And Moore is piecing up George for every second of 9.5 rounds until he lands back-to-back 1-2 combinations. And by the way, people forget the one before the knockout put Moore out on his feet, and we didn't realize it. To the degree that, like, when this knockout happened at George at 45, I swear, Luke, for 2 days, we thought the fix was in. We thought the fix was in. And we have this graphic here of this great George Foreman quote about that. And this is obviously the crowning moment of his career in 1994, where George said, sure, the fight was fixed. I fixed it with my right hand. And if you slow down the tape, you can see how short and perfect the big jab, which put Moore right in front of him, and then that beautiful right hand. And that's, the biggest win, the biggest moment of his career. But he was also in the Rumble of the Jungle, arguably the most popular, most famous fight of all time. And it was an epic self-implosion. And it led into, even though he had the war with Ron Lyle, he knocked out Frazier in the rematch, it led into that Jimmy Young fight and his life transformation. So I think the real crux of George Foreman's impact on society beyond boxing was that transformation. He was a sparring partner for Sonny Liston when he turned pro in the 60s, and he adopted that bully, menacing mindset. George Foreman dropped out of school in junior high in the segregated South, came from poverty, got in trouble as a kid, becomes this killer in the ring, and he's got that mentality, and he's got a hard heart. And going through that process of becoming a preacher, a born-again Christian, and then only getting back into boxing because they couldn't afford a new youth center, and he was praying and basically I guess the only way we can do this is if I go back and fight. They didn't take him seriously in the comeback for a long time. There were a lot of fights. He had 30 fights, right, to get to the Moore fight, and he delivers that moment. That alone is awesome. But what do we consider the 2 greatest eras in heavyweight history that don't compare with any other?
70s and 90s.
70s and 90s. He's the only guy who was in both and was on top in both. And the fact that he put on the same pair of trunks that he imploded in Zaire against Ali, gassed out, frustrated, gets stopped in the 8th round. Down, just an incredible, maybe one of the biggest upsets in the history of the sport, because people thought Ali was done at that point. And he puts those trunks back on 20 years later and beats Moorer with those trunks in a fight that he was losing every second of up for 9.5 rounds. I mean, it is just such a remarkable heart transformation, life transformation for him to have authored those 2 careers within one, and everything he went through. And that's not even counting the grill and the fame. I really think that he leaned into that message when he was in his 40s fighting of age is not a number. You can do anything you want. He literally became this inspirational figure to like everyone. He looked like your grandpa telling jokes, right? Like and yet he's coming in there with those trays of cheeseburgers at the press conferences. And his game was, I mean, he always was not even though he's an Olympic gold medalist, he always was not a
At 19.
traditional boxer. He always threw these crazy hard, almost arm punches. But he took on Ken Norton style in his comeback, where he had that, that shell guard that was awkward. And he became like, it's unfortunate the Mike Tyson fight didn't happen in the 90s. There was a HBO card where they put both in the co-main and main, and they both won, and they were going to match them together. But he fought as many people as he can get in the ring with him, and who he reinvented himself with in the 90s in that era of killers and became the lineal heavyweight. It's mind-blowing. It's insane.
Yeah, your life has seasons. As you get old, it's hard to appreciate this if you're in your 20s, but your life has seasons, and a lot of times, like, seasons happen in a way where it's a repudiation of the last one, or it's a withering of it. And sometimes the most successful people are the ones who don't fight it. They kind of ride it out for what it is, and then decide it's going to, let the seasons take them where they're supposed to go. Almost
that's
like
our careers, Luke.
To a degree. But I just mean he did it to the highest level possible. Everything about him was improbable. Everything about his success seemed impossible, and yet all of it was real.
And he got that 2023 biography movie that was a Hollywood script. That was his life. It fit perfectly.
Also, if I may, if you've never seen it, When We Were Kings,
yes,
or We Were Kings, excuse me, I forget the exact title. I rewatched it maybe a few months ago. It's the documentary that they made in the lead up to Ali and Foreman fighting in Rumble in the Jungle. It is a spectacular work of art.
Won an Oscar, yeah. Let's watch quickly. This was George 2 years ago at the age of 74 when he hit the heavy bag. I think we played this on Have You Seen This Shit after it happened, but
Big George.
I love this.
My dad still got it. You still got that power, Dad? Power doesn't age. Are you ready? Let me see what you got, Jack. Show me what you got, George. Let's go, Chief. Let's go.
He's 74. Dude. Big George was a terrifying puncher.
Rosita, can you show that graphic of everyone that he ultimately faced? Look at this, like who's who over a 30-year period. Ali, Joe Frazier twice, Evander Holyfield, Ken Norton, who he knocked out in 2 rounds, Ron Lyle, one of the greatest action fights of all time. And then in his comeback, he beats Burt Cooper, Dwight Muhammad Kawi, Jerry Cooney, Chuvalo, Michael Moore, Tommy Morrison, Shannon Briggs.
Yeah, Jerry Cooney told me about that fight. He was unequivocal that he had never been hit by anybody.
Oh, and he hit him with that walking uppercut, that sneaky one that comes.
He told me that Foreman hit him in a way where there's not even a close second of who he can even think of that hit him as hard.
He fell face first on the finish. And by the way, people were clowning that fight when it happened because they were like 40 and 39. It was called Two Geezers at Caesars. That's what people were calling it back then.
Dude, Jerry Cooney is a big dude.
Oh, he's
man.
like 6'7", yeah.
Yeah, like he would always come in, and when we were in Sirius XM, he would do the show after me. By the way, nicest guy in the world.
Absolutely.
And I remember asking him, like, what was that like? And he was just like, I don't even really remember much. Like, it's a black hole in my memory for the most part.
Jerry Cooney is the sweetest man.
Yeah.
You would never know he was nearly won the heavyweight championship.
He was terrifying, too. And then for Big George to just sit him down like that.
Yeah, yeah. Those were your 5 topics for the week. And Luke, I've been traveling the last few days, and you know how gross it can normally make you feel, right? When you're taking red eyes and you're flying, you're going from hotel to hotel. You got to pick the right clothes that just feel comfortable, right? Dude, I'm telling you, with True Classic, not only is it stylish, not only is it solid colored and it just fits and looks great, it's comfortable, Luke. It's become my go-to travel gear because I know I'm going to look good and feel good. No hassle. Perfect. It's True Classic.
I couldn't agree more. I like it for a lot of things. I wear it on travel days as well, but not just travel days. Maybe I'm lounging at home and I want leisure wear. Maybe I want to dress it up a little bit. Okay, I want to look I want to look, I want to be comfortable, and I want to look modern, but I also want to, maybe spiffy it up a little bit so I can make myself presentable. True Classic, BC, they don't do one thing. They can play all the levels. But it's not just that. It's got high-level quality, it's modern, it's stylish, and it's modular. I can make it work for the gym, and I can make it work for a night out. It all works together really well.
Yeah, and I like that mostly that they accentuate the positives. It looks like you've been in the gym, right? It points out the areas that need to, well, maybe at sometimes hiding the others, but there's also a good mix. You got cold weather must-haves like long sleeve Henleys, fleece hoodies, jeans, button-ups, joggers. You can get into the active wear like moisture wicking, odor fighting, quick drying, that type of antimicrobial magic that we're talking about here with True Classic. Luke, I think it's time that our listeners get on board. You may see True Classic ads on the UFC's Octagon, by the way. You know what I'm saying? So you know it's big time, but it just fits. It looks so good. When I walk in for a date night and I'm putting on the True Classic, my wife notices it. She notices it, Luke.
How about this, too? It's not just a great product in terms of what you have on your body, but it's a great business. Free shipping on all orders, BC. 100% perfect fit guarantee with easy returns. And BC, trusted by over 4 million customers and 200,000 five-star reviews. And again, one more time, of those 200,000 five-star reviews, one is BC, one is LT. We wear it, we live it. We know True Classic. It is awesome and it works.
I think I'm kind of a True Classic in a lot of ways. But whether you're bundling up for the cold or getting ready for spring, folks, get ready. Level up your style with the clothes that actually fit right. Just go to our exclusive link, trueclassic.com/combat with a K. You can see that on the screen right now. Don't forget our code there, combat with a K, trueclassic.com. Shop now and elevate your wardrobe today. Tell them BC sent you. Thank you. Thank you. That will get you far. Hey, we put the code out. We put the bat signal out every Sunday night at Morning Combat on Instagram and X, asking you, the people, what do you want us to talk about? You got questions? Yo, motherfucker, we got some answers here. And it's called DMs from the Diggities.
Oh, God. Hey, by the way, did you see the Dylan Dennis and KSI fight? And nothing of value was lost. Can you believe how fucking sad that shit is? Anyway.
Hey, let's hear from our first listener. Let's do it. This is from @Eric Bolden. The difference between the 2022 and 2025 atmosphere at the O2 in London is huge. Do you think it is because of a lack of exciting British superstars on the card? They're talking, of course, about Saturday's UFC London Fight Night card. Or that the fight results, or has the bubble began to burst the market? So look, we talk about this. It's everything at once, but they're specifically jacked up those ticket prices. The public seem to say, we're not going to pay this if the biggest names aren't on there. And although this fight had two very important fights for their particular divisions atop it, and I'm fine with that. I was fine with the undercard. It wasn't bad like bad is in this era. I also get why things went down the way they did in London. Everybody was unhappy. Even Adam Catterall, the journalist, who is always like pro UFC, he even tweeted out that was the most lifeless atmosphere he's been a part of there. That stuff does matter if you're going to jack the prices, but you're not giving Patty, you're not giving, whomever right there.
And also, they just didn't have, Tom Aspinall wasn't fighting. Patty, to your point, Patty wasn't fighting. Big names weren't fighting. I mean, Brady did really well, but I think he's just at the beginning of having big fights. And so it takes time to become a really known attraction. People say, is the bubble bursting? I don't think the bubble's bursting. Until people are just stop buying tickets, nothing's bursting.
Okay, but there's some smoke.
People are expressing discontent. Fine. But I keep making this point to people, like, nothing that you say in terms of like, I don't like this means anything to any monopoly. The only thing that means anything to them is your abandonment of the business.
You don't think they don't look in the crowd and see the gaps in that there were, like, before the main event?
I think if they pitch another tent in London and it makes a good gate, I don't think they care. Yeah, that's what I think.
I like pitching a tent once in a while. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean. You fucking gross piece of shit.
I also like that, Luke. Hey, let's go to our second question from @Spot316. Where do you rank Sean Brady against the best grapplers?
I think he's on the short list.
He became Dagestani after this performance.
But it's a little bit more like American Jiu-Jitsu based. It's got a lot of it. Dude, he hit a Sasai in round one. He hit two doubles. He hit the one kind of, it's not called a crackdown, but it's where you get behind and you break the back of the knees to then pull them, and then he used his own hook. He's got so many different entries. His top half is phenomenal. Obviously, I think Islam, his MMA grappling is probably the best in the overall, is probably best in MMA. But dude, Brady's got to be top 5 for overall all grappling. Again, I said his top half to me is like either maybe the best or right at it, but overall skill, who else would you put in there? You did Bilal, you'd put in there.
Well, Merab's got holds.
Merab's
He's
got just
pressure,
the takedowns. He doesn't have
Armin?
much else. So, sorry?
Armin Sarukian?
Same.
Did you say Hamza?
Hamza for sure. Saryukin again has control problems.
Who
I'm
has
not
the
so
most
sure about
impressive top half in women's MMA, Luke?
that. Kayla, when she can get it.
Oh, you're talking about wrestling. Suarez, but it was not effective in that title fight, Luke.
Suarez as well when she won. Well, there was a time anyway. Shevchenko to a degree.
Yes, you can use it to control. Sure.
But again, there's nobody. And then again, Dern has obviously phenomenal jiu-jitsu, but like really terrible takedowns.
Yes.
So
who are we forgetting on the men's side that's just an absolute wrestling machine?
Well, we've lost a bunch of really interesting ones over time. We lost Jacare's, like guys who were world champion grapplers. We lost Fabricio Verdums and Frank Mears and Josh Barnett's and stuff like that.
Islam Makhachev is pretty nasty.
Islam is up there. Habib would have been, but obviously he's not there anymore. Islam is probably, again, your overall best grappler. Your overall game is probably number one. But Brady is fucking up there, man.
I thought Umar was up there, but then Merab was like, yo, hold this.
Merab was like, hold that L.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear from the next fan. At Flannels and Jits, this guy walks around, he's probably laying down in pajama pants all day long like I do working from home.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think, who do you think showers less?
This guy.
All right. Did you watch the NCAA Wrestling Championship? Where does Wyatt Hendrickson upsetting Gable Steveson for the heavyweight NCAA title there rank among the greatest upsets in NCAA history? It's not quite Larry Owing versus Dan Gable, but it's not nothing, Luke.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's historically one of the biggest ones. Dan Gable wasn't supposed to lose that ever, and he did. Also, Bubba Jenkins winning his senior year after leaving Penn State and going to Arizona State and then beating the guy, I forget who he beat for Penn State in the finals to win the national title. That was big. They're saying this one is the biggest. I don't know enough about NCAA wrestling to know like the history of matchups and like the odds and whatnot.
What do you make of the conspiracy theories coming out that Gable lost on purpose just to push over Donald Trump in wrestling?
I don't understand how that, like, what's the relationship?
I tried to understand it too. I didn't fully get it, but almost like to create a moment that the world would come look at.
He just sacrificed himself on the altar of
I don't know if
Mania.
But he is getting ripped because of the fact that Gable went to WWE and failed, went to the NFL and failed, and then came back to college despite having been an Olympic medalist and a multi-time champion.
He had won 3 national titles.
And the guy that upset him, he had beat soundly. I mean, it happens. It happened to Dan Gable. It happens. It was a big moment. Dude, the call was amazing.
Dude, can I just say this? I know people get bitter at Daniel Cormier for his UFC commentary.
So good on wrestling.
I'm just gonna say it. I think he likes wrestling a lot more than he likes MMA, and I don't think that's crazy to say. I think
Dana likes boxing and slapping a lot more than mixed martial arts right now. That's true. Like you could see it in the passion.
I agree. I think it's crazy. Anyway, this one is, if not number one, it's up there.
Was it okay for the play-by-play announcer to scream like matter of fact that this is the biggest upset? It reminded me of when Gus Johnson said that Seth Petrozelli jabbing Kimbo Slice was the biggest upset in MMA history.
It was a big one. It was a historic
I mean, people
one.
say things in the moment. They'll say "I love you" after one night of sex.
That wasn't the thing that really remember that people remember about Gus Johnson's MMA calls. It was when he was watching the Nashville Brawl and goes, "These things happen in MMA," and it turned out he was right. By the way,
gentlemen, we're on live television.
Turned out he was right.
Also, what do you make of the controversy of the Gable match going last? But then that meant that the first match of the entire show was that Penn State kid trying to go
for 5 titles,
5-time because of the COVID year that they gave him.
I mean, it's always a debate about which ones you want to put in which place, and they're trying to this is not the first time they've done this.
But why can't they just put them in order of the best storylines and what matters?
I don't know. I don't understand why they can't mix and match. They have to kind of restart on the same line. They did the same thing when Kyle Dake. So Kyle Dake won 4 national titles, and he did it in 4 different weight classes. He went up each year. In his senior year, they moved his match to the finals. It might have been against David Taylor. I'm not even sure, but they moved that one to the finals. So they've done it before, and it clearly worked out. There was some debate about that, about whether or not the kid from Penn State, Carter, I forget how to pronounce his last name, whether him going for 5 should have mattered. But I don't know. It seemed like it worked out to me. ESPN, by the way, the wrestling community, not too pleased with the ESPN Plus service. I mean, imagine that this would be somehow, something that they didn't love. But anyway.
But it seemed like it was a really big night for where was it? Did you know where the venue was?
I don't. It's usually in the Midwest somewhere. I don't actually know where it was.
I mean, Trump was Matt's side, like this was a big deal.
That wasn't that surprising to me. The fact that Elon was there, I was like, don't you have shit to do? Don't you have stuff to do?
The things are running efficiently right now, Luke, so he had time on his hands.
I've got people to fire.
Yeah, there we go. Do we have more questions from these great people at JD Anal Fo 420? Wow.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Impressed by Sebastian Fundora's KO of Cordell Booker on Saturday in the PBC card.
Yeah, I got to tell you, BC, I'm sure you did a great job. I did not see many highlights of this on my timeline.
It was an efficient show, though. 3 fights in 2 hours and 15 minutes,
That
on
is
and
efficient.
in and out, on and off. And although they did screw Terrell Gaucher of a decision win over
Did he
young
miss
Elijah Garcia. He did miss weight by 0.2 pounds.
Okay.
But the main event, Sebastian Fundora ultimately put it on Cordell Booker, who's a small southpaw, tried to box him early. I'll give Fundora credit. Once he made some adjustments and landed some big power shots, he got him out of there. Top ranked Xander Zayas was there. They tried to do a face-off, but the powers that be wouldn't let him. But Xander Zayas is the #1 contender now, the mandatory contender for Fundora. So his promoter, meaning Fundora's promoter, Samson Lukowitz, did say after the fight that they have a good relationship with Top Rank. They think that could be the next fight. Dude, that'd be a great
I'd
fight
love to
for
see that.
both of them, you know?
That'd be a great one.
But you, like we said in the preview, you could put Fundora against anyone at 154, and it's going to be great. I want to get him eventually into a Virgil Ortiz fight if he's still champion. I want him to fight Zoo again, Thurman, Charlo, on and on. I mean, this division's great and fun, but did you see the highlights, or did you see the fight at all, or Fundora's performance?
I saw the finish.
Okay.
I didn't see much else.
Yeah, he put it together. He put it on him. He put him on there. Jesus Ramos won in the co-main. That could be an interesting opponent for him.
I've never seen a praying mantis integrate this well into human society and then perform ably, but Sebastian Fundora has done it.
Yeah, almost 1 year off. Shout out to that on the PBC, brought to you by BC on the call. Thank you. What else? We got any other questions from these fine people? From Kevin_Mitchell_79. With the insurgency of new talent making its way through the UFC, what are your top 5 camps right now in MMA, and what makes each of those camps special in what they offer to the fighters? Luke, who's the current super team of the moment? ATT?
ATT's probably up there. Fighting Nerds is up there.
Okay, what if we go ATT 1, Fighting Nerds 2? Does that put CKB at 3?
CKB is up there. What do you got, Long Island, Luke?
Killcliff over CKB.
Killcliff probably is a fair call over CKB as
Are we
well.
disrespecting Ray Longo here?
Yeah,
Longo MMA. Yep.
Fortis.
These are Fortis is very good, but I think they've got more guys who are like sub top 5.
AKA it needs to like rejuvenate.
They
right?
still are operating. I just don't think it's they don't have
like. Do we consider Ankalaev an AKA fighter? I mean, not Ankalaev. Sorry, Islam Makhachev.
To a degree.
To a degree.
To a degree, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's his. It's not his primary place, but
they wanted to know what the question asker wanted to know what these teams are specifically.
It's all kind of
bringing.
different. Like some guys, like the Fighting Nerds have this incredible creativity. ATT just comprehensively good coaching and facilities. Same with Killcliff.
Yeah. Shout out to King Mo, by the way.
Ray Longo, I think, has a special eye for talent development. So it's the in between where you can get a lot of good work in there, but it's not a crazy ass super team. It's all like what is the right fit for you kind of situation.
There's a boutique coach like Trevor Whitman, who can take you to the top.
Trevor Whitman's another one.
He left out both Vegas too. Syndicate.
Oh, Syndicate and Extreme Couture.
Oh my God, dude! Extreme Couture. That could be a top 3. Would they be in the top 3?
Probably so, dude. I mean, again, like I was actually talking to Eric Nixick
never going to forgive us.
I was texting him over the weekend because I was researching a guy. I was wondering if it was one of his, and it wasn't. I won't say who it is, but the guy was like, he was at Extreme Couture for a year and then went to another gym, and he was like, yeah, he's a good guy, but I didn't even work with him. Like, there are just so many incredible fighters coming and going. Some work with this coach, some work with that coach. It really is just what you're looking for, what teammates speak to you, what your needs are. But I think Fighting Nerds to me just have this kind of like striking creativity and
savagery
and
joy. They bring a lot of joy.
Very special and unique. Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. Good shit from the people. Don't forget, morningcombat@gmail.com is your gateway, your entry point into our system. Mikey will be listening and watching. Tell him that we said hi. Don't show him your piece. But we do want your fan subs for Friday. We do want your DMs or your dead wrong. Sorry, I spaced out there. Hey, we got one more segment for you, and it's when your boy BC scours the globe on Sunday afternoon to try to find the good, the bad, the ugly, the highs and lows, the in-between in combat sports. Really just trying to get as ridiculous as we can to make Luke Thomas emote. This one's called Have You Seen This Shit? Did you just let out a wet fart during the "Have you
No, I
seen this
burped.
shit" intro?
I burped. That's why
I think you burped with your a-hole.
Listen, let me explain something to you. I will claim the bombs that I drop. You understand?
Okay.
I burped. I really did.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, now that you mentioned it, though, I might squeeze one out just to make you gag and cough on air.
This room just fills with this disgusting. Let's go
Pablo
to
Torre's about to find out what I ate for dinner last night.
Can you smell what the Luke was cooking there? Big weekend for Tom Aspinall to kick it off. Not only was Aspinall shown on the screen here during the UFC London card.
This was so fucking
holding
good.
up a duck aimed at John
Dude,
Jones.
look at the hustle. I just want to point out, just leave this picture up. Is this the most British group of males you've ever seen in your life?
Doesn't it look like Bobby the Brain Heenan on top left above him? Behind him?
You know what? The guy, okay, you see where it says at Jedi Goodman in the upper left-hand corner? The guy next to it looks like some version of Paulie Malignaggi right behind it. But every other guy looks like the most British man alive. I just want to point that out.
That kind of looks Bronstetter, a young Bronstetter on the right? Like,
yeah, but only after he's been in like someone's political science department as a TA for the last couple of years.
He told us he was a high school athlete. You still don't believe him, though?
I believe that. The question is, like, did you go to high school with the kind of people I went to high school with? Because if you did, you weren't an athlete.
Baby. Also, Aspinall posted this pic with Hunter Campbell of UFC and Mr. Aspinall with the quote, "Stay tuned."
Yeah, I'm tired of these non-updates.
All right, well, let's get an update from the boss himself. Here's Dana White before UFC London.
Hot talking point in British mixed martial arts, and I suppose world martial arts right now, is what's going on in the heavyweight division, because there's British interest with Tom Aspinall. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's...
Give us a little bit of something. Can the fans get excited about the super fight?
I'll tell you what I've been telling you since day one. The fight's going to happen. The fight's going to happen. It's just a matter of when now, and getting it signed and done, and the fight will happen.
Do you have a cut-off point in your mind of when to get that done?
No, it's going to happen. It's done, but it's not done. Not done enough to sit right here now and announce it and give you a date, but the fight's going to happen.
With that then, if I could just poke it a little bit more, is it more on logistics rather than...
They would go on and just continue to walk around it without stepping on it. What does that actually mean?
Nothing.
Does that mean we got the money and now we just need the location, or does that mean they both want it but we haven't hit the number yet? Because that's a problem if you haven't hit the number yet.
It doesn't mean anything. I don't know what the holdup is, but like all these things like stay tuned, big news coming.
So him saying,
here we go.
Him saying it's done but it's not done, that doesn't give you optimistic hope like it did a lot of people on the internet.
No, it doesn't change anything. I've been kind of at a point emotionally.
Yeah.
50-50. Did that change anything about 50-50? Not really.
Don't talk to me about the birthing pain. Show me the head.
That's it. I mean, again, I'm not saying in any way it won't happen. I absolutely hope it's the most important fight they can make. But let me know when there's a real update. All this other cryptic shit, I don't care about.
Well, Luke, UFC London proved to be a big week for what I love the most. Real, recognizing real. Let's go backstage in the locker room before the main event. Joanna Champion showing some Polish love to her compatriot.
Yep. This
Jan
is national
Blachowicz.
pride here, for sure.
I love that friendship, don't you?
I'm sure it's good for each of them, and for that, I'm happy for them.
Okay, well, you know Mike Owens Media. We love that guy, right?
Yeah, of course.
He had a huge week. In fact, he was in a hotel room with JJ.
Wow, look at this guy.
Sitting down for an interview, and it looked like he did well. So shout out to our boy from Liverpool there. And, you know,
I like to point out, he got an interview with her before I did. How about that?
That's true. That's true, because you don't want it, Luke, all right? Also, Patty Pimblett gave us this fist bump moment. What do you make of this? Is this like, should they keep kayfabe alive? Here's the UFC weigh-in.
To Ilya, right?
Ilya Taporia is back there. I mean, they could have been talking ish, but they show. I mean, what do I want? Do I want them to fist fight right there?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are they supposed to do right there? Like, you know.
There was also a real recognizing real bonus at the airport when Diego Sanchez and Bryce Mitchell put their heads together.
I hope that they get the, you know, yeah, I don't know what to say.
I hope they find BJ and help him.
I'm not going to talk bad, you know, I just, whatever.
All right, Luke, but who in the UFC was the realest this week, you asked me off camera, right?
Yeah.
Jillian Robertson was.
Oh, hell yeah.
So she's ripping a bong while in, what do you call that? The sauna?
Yeah, it's like a portable sauna. Mm-hmm.
Long Island Luke, is she your favorite fighter now?
Yeah.
I saw this on social last week. I said, BC, you better have it in BC's feed.
You should fire Gaff and do the main card minute with her.
She can just join us both. Shit.
You know what? You could fire Gaff and break up with your girl, and then Jillian Robertson can be both the main card minute co-host and your girl at the same time.
That's not right to say out loud.
No,
That's,
Luke. Uncalled for.
That's uncalled for. You know what's uncalled for too? A female Scottish NHL fan.
I'm really sorry. I came all the way from Scotland. I thought the Leafs were going to win. 2 games they lost. It must have been the fact that the guys were so overwhelmed at the size of my massive fucking tit. They lost concentration. I am sorry. They let me sit on the bench. That's why they lost tonight. They were overcome by Scottish pheromones. They didn't know what they were doing.
It's a fat bastard from...
I'll tell you what. I bet she's fun to party with.
Okay, yes.
I bet she's fun to party with.
Luke, have you ever seen race relations solved through dancing?
Not exactly.
Watch this young gentleman. It's like, who put the honky in the middle?
Is this cracker about to style?
This is a great moment right here, by the way.
Okay. All right. Let's let the...
shit! This is like the movie Footloose all over again. This is great.
No!
Wow. We also have video of him when he...
By the way, though, I just want to point out, it is typically in these exchanges, it is not the white guy winning. This is a noteworthy difference.
But if the white guy doesn't go unchecked, he'll end up like this man in this video. Watch this.
Oh,
all right, Dad. Can we put this away, please?
This motherfucker.
I know you're on vacation. You're okay.
Yeah, you know what? This is why I don't go on cruises. Throw him overboard. Just let him. Okay. Stop showing his ass.
Oh, that's so good. All right. Remember Alec Baldwin shot that person and killed him, unfortunately, on the movie set, Luke?
It is tragic.
He's got a story to tell about seeing his wife's ex-boyfriend's dong.
I've seen one of the loves of her life naked.
Not the love of my life.
He was one of the loves of her life. He was a very important boyfriend of hers. And we went to go see him on Broadway, and he was naked. In his whole, as our British friends, he had his bits out. We went to go see Take Me Out, the musical that our dear friend Scott Ellis directed, and all these baseball players were in the locker room, and they were all turned around naked with their dongs hanging out. And he's there, her boyfriend, and I recognize him. I met him before. And when he turns around with his personality hanging out, I'm like, oh, okay. He had like a clarinet hanging from his pants. The guy literally turns around, and we were all like, whoa.
I think you remember this more than I do.
It kept going, Luke, but I think you got the point. Does that not remind you of my Cliff Robinson story from 2006?
Why couldn't he have been the one that got shot?
I told you that story, right? Where I went to a Nets game during the late Clifford Robinson from UConn's last season.
And he just had an absolute anaconda in his
dungarees. We went into the locker room before the game. It was like a regular season game against the Bucks. And it was me, my coworker, we were working for ESPN at the time, and 2 female journalists came in, but they didn't look professional. They looked like college-age girls, but they were doing the job. And they went right up to Cliff in the corner and were interviewing him. And within 30 seconds, while having a conversation, he dropped his pants and his underwear like in one motion, and just stood there with
an elephant trunk.
Yeah. And the conversation just kept going. And it kept going, and it was
assault,
so
brother.
awkward.
That's
Luke.
assault.
It was so awkward. Wow. Okay, there you go. Let's keep it going here. So this is Sky Sports Austria, and this is a commercial break. Watch what this makeup lady comes running in with. She put a line on the guy's hand, and he blew it, Luke.
Maybe it's Ritalin.
Is that legal to snort Ritalin before you go on TV?
Legal schmeagle. I don't know, but it'll certainly
wasn't that
hype you up.
interesting? That was weird, right?
People do drugs, BC.
Oh, apparently they do.
I keep trying to tell you, who won
this
the drug
history.
war? It's drugs.
Yeah,
it's not weird that the person was doing drugs. It's weird that he had a woman run up to him, put the aforementioned drug on his hand.
Yeah, normally you do it in a bathroom.
I'm not any kind of television star, but I've been around some that were. That's actually the least surprising
you
thing.
hit the weed pen before the broadcast, not on the air, right?
Dude, I'm just telling you, these donks who are big on TV, these are weird people.
All right, were you big into monster trucks as a kid? Like
I've been to a couple rallies.
Dude,
yeah.
watch the end of this rally right here. It's wild. I've never went to these live. My wife did growing up. She said it's great.
They're so loud. You have to bring headphones. our earplug.
That's a pretty gnarly move there. Wait for the ending.
I mean, it's definitely not a Cybertruck. Okay.
All right.
Watch this monster truck and then this ass.
Remember last week that kid had a whole of those water cups in the back seat?
Yeah.
He escalated.
Bro, you know what happened last time. Just drive careful, please.
Fuck this kid.
Did it for the gram, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the punch machine. We always have fun with that. International style here.
Oh, look at this big.
Yo,
fat ass. Oh my.
That's so good. That's so good.
Dude, he had the weirdest build ever. He was built only on top.
Yes. Kind of like Sean Brady, but he's a, little monster.
Sean Brady, a little more muscular.
Yeah, a little more muscular. Yeah. Luke, I've long said that groin shots make the world go round. There's nothing more funny, right?
Anything he will earn henceforth is going to be garnished by the Department of Justice. This building is an example. While he still owns this, he's barred by that federal court judgment from ever having an active role in the management of any property at all. If somebody moves into this building by that federal judgment, he has to use it.
Let's head to the baseball field. Or softball, excuse me.
He sounds like the grape lady.
Yes, I know exactly. Dude, that's tough to happen to anybody, but you can't, moan audibly, right? You gotta hold that in.
I definitely feel like the moaning is only acceptable if they have to call an ambulance.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I've seen people get so injured that they actually have to call medical authorities. Moaning is acceptable in that case.
All right, we got one more for you.
Yeah, that's natural selection. That's natural selection. This was oh yeah, get his ass. These are people that should not be procreating.
There's a bunch of awesome dudes that always send me crazy rugby hits.
Oh my God.
But this one isn't a hit, Luke. It's a wedgie.
You know what?
Dude, that's an atomic wedgie.
They got different rules in that game.
Wow. Okay, that's something right there.
They just, they don't fuck around in rugby, man.
Luke, we all unfortunately have to go to wakes and funerals at times. Do you typically go out for a drink after just to let off some steam?
I mean, I don't have a post-funeral routine.
Okay, let's see this, guys.
Okay.
Okay. Please, we're going to lose our sponsors. New gift ideas for Tukey for the holidays, Luke. Okay.
Oh, hell yeah. Real Fago accent, too? Or scent, excuse me, scent. That's hilarious. Hell yeah. My juggalo baby.
Remember,
by the way, hold on, I want to say something.
Yeah.
I took a dump on Kiss and Kiss fans on my last appearance on Submission Radio. My mentions for 2 weeks have been angry Kiss fans.
Wow.
And I want them all to know I think you're pathetic fucking losers, and I'm glad I hurt your feelings. Eat my shit.
Wow.
Eat a mile of my shit to smell my ass up close, you fucking losers.
Wow. I mean, I agree with the sentiment, but the delivery was heavy. That was wow.
I want all of your tears sustain me. Like Scott
let's go
Tenorman.
to the karate demonstration. This will end well. Get a little fire involved.
A lot of fat guys trying to do yeah. Okay.
Oh
all
God.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. We're watching a kid fucking scream here. I mean,
Luke, we didn't start the fire. It was always burning. Never forget, right? Let's never forget how to brush your teeth the correct way. Actually,
you're brushing your teeth wrong, and that's why. You see, most people think the correct movement is from the bottom to the top, but in reality, the best way is to
you got to go across to get all the gunk out of there.
You got to really get those hard to reach places.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Let's get this fashion update. Now, I do not endorse this message.
Is he going to do some fucking hate message? Okay.
Okay, that is. I can't. I mean, who's even making this stuff? This is not funny anymore. This is too far.
We're gonna get fired.
Too far. Big weekend to close here for MK favorite Mike Perry, who's in our intro when he says, shout out to Morning Combat.
That's right.
He did have, no footage here of the knockouts because I don't even know if we can show it. We get hit by copyright by everybody. But he did have Dirty Boxing card over the weekend and he debuted. Let's listen to this. His new co-owner is John Bones Jones. And they started a fuck Tom Aspinall. All right. Well,
Man, I got to tell you, I didn't know. We talked about this before. I'm so surprised to see him back with the Kawas, I guess. I didn't know what the story is there.
Yep, and finally, Mike Perry and Coach Latore were approached on the sidewalk, Luke, with an armed forces-like offer.
What's up, bro? How you doing, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Can I ask you a favor?
What's
I got a chick that want to come to the hotel with me tonight. She want to run a train on her. You want to go with me?
What? Absolutely not. No.
No,
That's my wife right here, man. Why would you ask me that right
I just want you to just come, come get you. See, she right here.
Hotel?
You see how she got a big booty?
Asking.
Absolutely
I can't do that to my wife.
I'm his wife.
You sure, y'all? You don't want to get in
We can do it all together. Bye.
No.
We're not
No?
about that. Bye.
Okay, all right. Thank you, man.
Look, very similar to the time that you were asked if you want to run a train on Osborne.
This reminds me of my military service.
That's all the shit we got this week. What are we getting here? An A-? Come on.
That's a C+.
Oh, come on.
That's
That
a
was
C+.
great.
There was no
batch of
cake
shit.
lady. There was,
Oh, no elder abuse. There was a fat punch machine guy. Hey, that's the show we got for
the
this
fat punch
week.
machine guy was great.
Yeah, fantastic. We will be back, by the way, Friday from home, 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to, what is this weekend?
Mexico
City. Urseg and Moreno.
Yes. Will you have some content worth watching on the Luke Thomas Substack / YouTube network?
Yes, I interviewed Corey Sandhagen. That interview will be out. I'll have my breakdown just for the Sean Brady people out there. And so cool news later this week.
Can't wait to see that. If you check out the Brian Campbell Experience this week, we got Edgar Berlanga, Boots Ennis.
Oh, nice.
Brandon Moreno. So
nice.
It should be a good week of content right there. Follow us at the socials below, including our own personal channels. The Main Card Minute, by the way, is owned and operated by our own Luke Nocita. So check out Long Island's action. Long Island, you got anything coming to your channel soon?
I'll have the bet breakdowns out today and tomorrow. Watch along on Saturday. You know the drill.
That's what I'm talking about.
What does your girlfriend think about your hobbies?
She loves it, Luke. She loves it.
You know what?
Every second.
I want to ask.
Do you think we could get her on the
Can we talk to her?
She would 100% come on. The other thing is, we hung out Saturday night, man. We had that early London card. We still had a Saturday.
You're
night.
not a great boyfriend.
Or
I want you to know.
not all bad.
You're an amazing producer, and you're great on this show. You're the Osama bin Laden of boyfriends. It'd be just the worst.
That'll be
just
enough. That's our great show today. Thanks to Ken and Nadir for jacking up the AC for us too.
They were on their phones the whole
Ken's
time.
in like a winter park.
They were on their phones the whole time. By the way, I showed them my shirt.
That
Hagler
shirt
Hearns,
is badass.
And they go, I don't know who that is. And I said to myself, holy fucking Jesus, we got to fix this. Sorry about taking the
These guys have never watched combat sports, and you're talking about a fight that was like 10 years before they were born.
Hagler Hearns, they never even heard of it?
They don't watch combat sports.
Look, it's not, to quote a great American Armenian, it's not their fault they were born in 19.
It's your fault that you're here. It's your fault that the show is still going.
Let's end it, okay? Thank you for your service. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you on Friday. We're out of here.